Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. Very, very happy to have you here. I had myself a pretty good weekend. It was quiet. Actually, I had to drive around a lot, but that's pretty normal. Hello, Roger. How you doing? Do me a favor, Roger, and check that intro and see if you could actually hear it properly, because I was messing around over here trying to figure some stuff out, and I could have screwed something up. Just see if you could hear that, Roger, and let me know. But I'm going to go head over to the site, and I'm going to hit the like and share, and hopefully you guys will do the same. But whilst I do that, Thundero is going to enlighten us upon his most elucidating and thrilling and dare we say titillating weekend.
No, it was not titillating at all.
Oh, damn it!
Not even in the slightest. I was helping my buddy do something. Basically, he needed help getting something out of this apartment. And this apartment, the people that lived in it were not there anymore. A different friend of his does basically cleans apartments and stuff, cleans them out for people. This place was basically like walking into one of the circles of hell.
Uh-huh.
It was the most disgusting thing I've ever experienced, I've ever been a part of, I've ever seen. Absolutely horrid from top to bottom, from boxes and boxes of used cat litter, just in there.
Oh, wow.
To just random food and junk and pop cans and everything else all over the floor, to the fridge that had food in it that they were using that was full of dead bugs. Yeah, this was by far the most disgusting thing I think I've ever experienced in my life. And since I didn't know, and in fairness to my friend, he didn't know that we were going to be walking into that, I was not even remotely dressed to be in that level of filth. So, yeah, it was not a fun time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, I've unfortunately run into a few of those things. I won't go into where and what particular group that tends to happen with. But I did run through a time where I attempted to be a vacuum cleaner salesman.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. No, I'm not a very good salesman. See, it turns out when you're brutally autistically honest, not good for being a salesman.
Doesn't help.
Yeah, doesn't help at all. So I didn't last, although I did end up becoming an Electrolux repairman. I'm the guy that fixed your vacuum cleaner. That I was good at.
Yep.
Yeah, I could do that, but the sales thing. But anyway,
I did that for years. I did that, just fix vacuum cleaners.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I managed the business.
Yeah, so we understand each other better now. But anyway, in doing that job or being trained to do that job, which the guy who was training me realized, yeah, you suck at this. He was a typical slick Rick, right? And dude, I went into some houses. My God, they didn't need a vacuum cleaner. They needed an exterminator. They needed an arson, really.
An exorcism.
Yeah. Arson.
Yeah, this place. The worst part about this, Chester, is the owner. He owns it from out of state, and he was trying to sell it, and he had multiple sales fall through once the people saw the way the upstairs was. Yeah, so he literally was paying the guy who was cleaning it out $3,500 to clean it out.
Yeah.
That's how nasty it was, bro. That's how bad it was. They ripped the carpet out, everything. Like, they tore this, gutted it. And even still, they couldn't get the stove out, which was also nasty because some of those old buildings, they would hard line the stove in. You really shouldn't do that for, this reason, because it's near impossible to remove. You have to have the gas company come out or a technician who has the parts come out, shut the gas off in the entire place, valve it, cap it, and then unhook it and take it out. And that's a whole lot of process when if you would have just not done that, and just left the valve on it, everything would be fine. but yeah, so this place was by far the most disgusting thing I've ever walked into. It made me, because sometimes you get this idea, oh, I'm kind of you're messy, I'm too messy, whatever. No, I'm fine. I'm doing all right. Because holy shit, literally holy shit, everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone could live
I
that
hate
way.
it.
The worst part is it was a guy that was living there, and he had women in there with him because they found all kinds of used panties and stuff.
Oh, dude, the
So
dirtiest people you've
these
ever
were
run into are females, man.
this
Don't buy into the hype, buddy.
is so disgusting. Oh, God,
Yeah, I know.
like there's just not words. There's not words for how gross it was. The smell. I literally I've been to landfills, and the landfill smelled better than this place.
Yeah.
It's
It's
unbelievable.
amazing how people live, right? And I consider myself to be a pretty normal dude. I mean, I'm kind of pedantic about neatness and stuff like that, but it's not over the top. And I realize
Yeah,
you do need a kind of moderate level of normal living around you, or it's not good for your health, right? But
yeah.
even with that said, um, I try to be normal. But I've walked into those situations before. Hey, it's Jimmy. How you doing, dude? It's been forever, man. Um,
Eh,
but
eh.
um, but yeah, no, it's Jimmy Ortiz.
Yeah.
And I love boxing. But no, it's I've seen some really disgusting things. I don't understand how people live that way. But my to each his own, I guess. I mean, if you don't have to go into it, it's fine, I suppose. But you had to go into it, and I don't know
Yeah.
why today, Thunder, but your mic is sucking balls, dude.
Well, there's not much I can do about it, unfortunately. So we're just going to have to all suffer through it because it
Okay.
sounds fine to me. So I have no idea what's going on.
Oh
Here,
well.
hang on. Let me check on the actual stream. Hang on.
Okay. You just got to check the stream. But say I don't understand the mentality of how you can live like that. Really, yeah, no, I don't either. But honestly, if I don't have to, if I'm not forced to interact with it, I don't really care what people do. That's their business, honestly. But it is hard for me to wrap my head around it. I mean, you don't have to be a neat freak and have these perfectly, bleached walls. I mean, that's not good for you, actually. You need to have a little bit of dirt around you, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, come on, dude, come on. I mean, because I've seen what he's seen on several occasions. Because it was mainly when I did the vacuum cleaner thing, but when I became a repairman, which I did for a little while, I had to go in houses and do like the vacuum cleaners that are built into the wall. Into the actual ducting of the house, I had to install those and I had to repair those sometimes. So yeah, I don't understand that because I've gone into places where I've had to do repair, but it's clear they never used it. They obviously never used the thing. There's grease
Right.
everywhere. I mean, I understand being some grease on your walls in your kitchen, around your stove from oil splatter and stuff, and maybe you only clean it every quarter or even half a year. I get that. That's
Yeah.
not weird. But there's grease on the living room walls. How did you do this? And then
Practice.
especially, that it takes effort.
Yeah. Is this better? I switched to my other mic. Is it still
No, it's
obnoxiously
cleaner,
reverby?
but
Yeah.
it's just lower, so I could just turn you up.
Well, I
Um,
turned myself down too because I think what it was, for whatever reason, my headset mic is like full gain right now, and I don't know why because I
oh,
didn't
that
turn
makes
the gain
sense.
up. So I switched over to my other mic, and I'm hoping it's better.
Oh, it's a way better. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
normal. Yeah, so it could be a gain problem, I guess. Yeah, that would make sense. But you sound good now.
Okay.
Excellent. Nevertheless, it's just yeah. So sorry you had that weekend. I had to go up on the Saturday because my women. Um, my wife. We've been married a long time. You know. And there are occasions where she tries to manipulate me. Now, here's the thing, Thundera. Nearly 30 years of marriage, she's never successfully manipulated me at all, ever. And but which is weird because it doesn't really matter. I don't even know why she makes the effort because it's like anything she wants, I'm like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go get it.
So I mean,
It's
what's
fine.
the
Go get it.
point, right? I mean, what's the point? But that's just she just has to try, and she actually came up to me, right, and she says, yeah, you're getting kind of low on your snacky supplies. Do you need to go to the city to make some purchases? And I looked at her. Uh-huh. So where do you want to go, right? Because she wants to go somewhere, and she wants to make it think it's my idea, right?
Of
For some,
course. Yeah.
so I don't for no
Yeah.
reason really. And
Travel inception. She wants you to want to travel. She wants to convince you
yeah,
that
yeah.
you want to do this.
Right. Yeah, I know, but whatever. Bless her heart. A for effort, I suppose. Anyway, so I took her up to where she wanted to go, and so ahead of Saturday, which is a lot of driving on my part, right? Anyway, so yesterday though, Microsoft put out a little bit of their update, as they like to do. And of course, every now and then when they do an update, it absolutely obliterates and nukes people's computers, which they never
Yeah.
apologize for, by the way. They've been doing this for
Yeah.
decades. And of course, so my computer got hit, but I've been having a little bit of trouble since I bought it. I've been trying to figure out what it was. And I called them up and because I couldn't get out of the boot screen and stuff. And they say, we're having a lot of trouble with that. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll bring it up because, I love computers, but I'm not that level, right?
Sure.
So, I have to drive all the way back up to the frickin' city and sit and wait because there's a ton of people, old people having problems, and I'm very patient, and quiet, and they know that I will sit there quietly and whilst they're dealing with grandma. But eventually they came over and we kind of went through it and we are talking about the problem. And, because I said it keeps booting as trying to fix a 32-bit, which doesn't make sense to me because my whole system is 64-bit. And like, it's a good point. We finally found it was an old SATA drive that was still stuck on the back that they used for cloning my my old drive, my old C drive to put on the new M.2, right?
Hmm.
And if for some reason it was still trying to think it was the actual C drive, but of course it didn't have an OS on it. So it
Hmm.
kept asking and it was interfering and causing me trouble from time to time. But this Microsoft update, I guess, was you know, the straw that broke the camel's back, and it just was
Right.
stuck in a loop. So you know what the solution was?
Remove that drive.
Yeah, throw that fucker right out. It's sitting here right next to me. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to bleach bit it.
I like
Right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
but it
know
was
what?
just a
You know
stupid
what?
little.
Do Hillary Clinton. Just get a hammer
Yeah,
and start smashing it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. But I mean, such an easy solution. I kick myself for not being just that because I did notice that it was 32-bit. My brain should have said, well, what do you have in your system that's 32-bit? Those SATA drives, which I don't even use. I should have. It just pisses me off that I wasn't smart enough to notice it.
Yeah.
I was on the edge of
Yeah.
it, right? But
Yeah.
anyway, pull that thing out, unplug the other one that's in there because I don't even use them. I mean, I got 6 terabytes of space as it is. What do I need? A couple of frickin' what is that? 500 gig total in those two SATA drives. So I pull them out and everything works fine now. So, but it is interesting how Microsoft updates often cause trouble for a lot of people. And the thing with it is they never apologize. You ever notice that?
No, no, they don't give a shit. They don't give a single shit. That's why I refuse to update it as often as I can because it'll if you
He
leave it
says, "We're
on and just
sorry, Ben."
if you
Ben, you're
leave
in
it
the
on
security division. You have nothing to do with it.
if you just leave it on and let it go to sleep instead, you can let it run for a very, very long time and you never have to update it.
No, that I just don't even leave it on. But I mean, usually it's not that big a deal. I can work around, the Windows update issues. They're not that hard. I'm at least computer literate enough to be able to deal with that, right? And I
Yeah.
like I said, I'm kicking myself that I didn't because I my brain realized it because I'm seeing this boot stuck in the boot and it's constantly trying to do this repair over
Yeah.
and over and over. And I saw that it was 32-bit, and I should have known, right? I should have known. I'm just kicking myself for not knowing, but whatever. They have proper level otakus up there, nerds. They know
Yes.
exactly what they're doing. I'm not talking about the dudes that sit out front and sell. They brought a yellow shirt out of the back. He got to see
Uh-oh.
sunlight for a few minutes.
Uh-oh. Yeah, they
Yeah,
brought
the gnomes out of the back there
That's
that know
right.
how to all they know how to do all the tinkering. They know how to tinker, get up in there and get it working for you.
Yeah. Well, he figured it out pretty quick, and actually, as I saw what was going on, I realized what the problem was, and I was like, oh, I should have known that. And I think what it was is because they used it to clone. They use that 'cause it's just sitting there and it's big enough to clone my old C drive, right?
Right.
And then put it onto the new 2 terabyte M.2 drive. And it probably in that I don't know, Ben would probably be able to explain this better, but in that process, I think somehow because I was having trouble before, somehow that thing still thought it was the drive. I don't know how that would work. Like I said, Ben would
Mm,
know, but something like that was going on. And and this the Microsoft thing just hit, but they were absolutely swamped because the place I don't have a proper nerd place to go, so I go to the best thing, there's a lot of grandmas going buy computers from this place that honestly just go to the frickin' Best Mart, right?
yeah.
But whatever. But there are a small number of us gamer otakus that go there, right? And
Yes.
they always take good care of us, you know.
Yep.
Um, like I went up and they could have charged me money and they didn't.
That was
Um,
nice. Oh,
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right, Ben. I tried to do that, but the problem was it wasn't recognizing the SATA drive because I went into the BIOS because you just reload it, just restart it, and you hit your delete button, right, or what F5, I think, whatever. I always hit delete, and it'll take you into your BIOS. And I went into that and I was checking around trying to see what the problem was. But the problem, Ben, is it wasn't showing the two SATA drives at all. It was just showing my
yeah.
HDD, which I use just for backup, and my two M.2s. That's all it was showing. It wasn't showing anything else. I didn't see any problem with them.
Hmm.
So, unfortunately, I did try to do that, Ben.
Interesting. Yeah.
Uh,
For whatever reason, your computer just refused to let that one go. It's like, I love this one. This is my one, and it
Maybe
wanted to boot
yeah, it
off
was
of it.
some weird little things going on. Like I said, Ben would be able to explain it a lot better than me. But he says, "We yes when we get exposed to sunlight." That's right, Ben. That's right. But man, I was so pissed with myself because I was on the edge of comprehension. Right,
Yeah.
I was right there.
See, since you were a repairman for a while, technician, what I used to do was all of that and more. We had guys, one of the guys who actually trained me, he used to say all the time, as long as I know how something works, I can figure out how to fix it. Uh, and that's pretty much the truth, right? With most things, even a car, like I'm not a really car guy, but I can figure it out usually, or I can get in the same, right in the ballpark of it, of what it is, unless it's some just completely random nonsense. Um, and that comes from just years of being a technician, and it makes you have that exact reaction you're having now when
Yeah,
it's something
yeah,
so simple that you
yeah.
just didn't think of it because
Oh
it's so
yeah.
dumb.
It just pisses you off. And mechanically, if it was a car, I wouldn't have had to ask anyone. I'm very
Yeah.
mechanically literate. But my computer knowledge it's still burgeoning, right? But oh yeah, it was so irritating to me. And I had another moment that was I really wanted to slap myself like twice. I was having trouble with the monitor I'm using right now. It's an old monitor, but it does what I need. I don't play FPSs and stuff, so I don't need these high megahertz, monitors that are
Mhm.
nanosecond accurate. I don't need that. Right, I don't play those kind of games. So an old monitor works just fine. I got two of them sitting in front of me, but this is a touchscreen monitor, and it was the touchscreen part was like having major problems, and I just couldn't figure out how to fix it, so I called the company in Germany. Mhm.
Interesting.
I even scheduled my time, and he I talked to the German guy, and he was like, yeah, no, when they get to a certain age they kind of have that problem. And I'm like, well, okay, how do I fix it? He said, oh, just unplug the touchscreen cable in the back. Oh, I didn't even think about it, dude. And I had unplugged plugged it in, unplugged that cord many times, knowing exactly what it does.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, God, so stupid.
You literally you almost had one of those moments where it's just turn it on and turn it back off, sir. One of those moments where you
Yeah,
call
but
tech support and that's the first thing they tell you to do. Just turn it on and turn it back off,
yeah,
or turn
no,
it
I
off,
know
turn it
that
back on.
trick. Just hit it, you know.
Yeah, give it a
But
tap, a
yeah,
little tap.
but it is what it is. But
I had an old computer like that. I had an old computer that I literally occasionally, because the hard drive was bad, and I occasionally had to give it a tap and get the hard drive to go because it was an old
all
disk.
right, the
Give
old
it a little
disk drive.
tap.
Yeah, sure. It's just kind of misaligned, just off. You
Yeah.
need to tighten the bolt, I guess. But whatever. I got it. It's fixed now, and hopefully, I learn from that experience and not make that mistake again. Because one of the benefits of of a hard drive, an actual hard drive, compared to the new these new SD drives, the M.2s and stuff like that. The advantage of the old one, of course, it's slow. Sure, but those things last because they're actually mechanical device. They have those things got legs. They'll last a long time. Where
Yeah.
the new chip based SD cards, those things do have a limited life. They are limited. Can only rewrite themselves so many times. It's not like the hard drives, right? So you got to keep in mind, and those SATA drives I had in there are that kind of thing, and they've been in there a while. So I should have known better. I should have just ripped them out anyway because I wasn't using them. They were literally in there just as kind of for the one of them was used for cloning, and the other one was just just to move your over to a new C drive, right? And the other one, or boot drive. The other one was basically just holding a little bit of software that if I take it to the computer guys, they kind of click and they can get into their personal, proprietary BIOS stuff,
Right.
right? So it was there for them. And I said, just pull them out, just drop it on the backup SD drive. So they did.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, and Ben
Well,
is trying to make me feel better, and he says, "Well, that's more than most people have tried." Thanks, Ben. Go ahead. Go ahead. You can go ahead, pat my head.
well, it's unironically is because most people are they're dumb, Chester. they're not they're not exactly they're not exactly literate in these
Well,
things. We'll call it.
no, they're not. It's ignorance, and
Yeah.
that's okay though. I mean, like,
Yes.
there's a lot of stuff I know about history, for instance, that 99.9% of all humanity doesn't know. But does that
Yep.
make them a stupid, craven bitch that needs to be thrown into the utter void and abyss? No,
Yes. Oh no. Yeah.
no.
No is the one you were looking
Oh,
for.
no. Yeah, no. Well, I'm just saying that it's okay to be ignorant. I mean, everyone has their thing that they focus their time on and they specialize in. You can't know everything.
Yeah.
It always gets me where some people get, they get self-righteous, right? And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, what, you didn't know that? Well, dude, they're a freaking banker, or they are a nurse, or whatever. That
There's
their mind is
nothing.
spent elsewhere.
There's nothing in this world more frustrating than somebody who is ignorant and belligerent,
Oh God, that
and
is a good
they
combination.
refuse to, and arrogant somehow. Like,
Yeah,
I
you
can
see a lot
understand
of
how
that.
smart people get arrogant. I get that, right? They know stuff, very competent, whatever. I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. They shouldn't still. They should rein that in, but it makes sense. It doesn't make any sense when utter ignoramuses
Mhm.
somehow have arrogance to them. Uh,
And you see it every
what are you?
day.
What are you?
Every day.
Oh, all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah, all the time.
The
Like, what are you
Twitter
doing? Like,
entertainment, I call it.
oh gosh, it's unbelievable how many dumb people have so much arrogance that they will argue with people about things that they have no business arguing with people
Yeah,
about.
but we have to actually embrace and enjoy their existence, because without them, memes carry no meaning.
They are the fuel for endless memes,
They
and I
are.
appreciate that.
It is
That's
great.
See,
It's
everybody has a purpose. Some
see?
people get thrown into the
See?
grinder for the memes, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine.
That's right.
The meme god needs his food,
He
and that's
does.
what these people are for.
Hmm.
He, they sustain him, and I enjoy watching him work because memes are hilarious.
Yeah, but Sheldon, once you get your Neuralink, you'll know everything. But the thing is, just because you know it doesn't mean you know it or can
True.
implement it. See, that's the
That's the
problem.
problem with the Matrix. this idea that they can just upload knowledge. Yeah, they can upload knowledge, but that's not the same as experience.
Mm-mm.
You can know all sorts of stuff. There's a difference between, like you said, knowing it and knowing it.
That's true.
And that's why it was always kind of silly to me how they could just, you know how to fly a helicopter. Yeah, but you've never flown a helicopter.
Yeah, no, you've never done it.
Even if
I'm
you
sure
know
it's
all
quite
the
different.
moves,
Yeah.
it's not going to be the same.
Yeah. It's funny. Dave says computers make me contemplate becoming Amish. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, no,
They're very
computers
strict though,
are.
and then you got to grow that beard.
But
Amish
yeah,
beard.
well,
That's,
I would enjoy the beard though. I think I just wouldn't
I
enjoy
don't know
my
about that.
wife with the beard.
Well, yeah, and the no shaving of areas.
Oh yeah,
you know,
no, that's true.
a damn
y-
forest.
you know, but here's the thing: if the woman never shaves, the hair is silky. If she does shave and gets a bit lazy in the wintertime, as the ladies do, it gets sharp, and then bloodletting ensues.
Listen, the Brazilians haven't done many things correctly, but they got that one.
They did
That
get that.
is
It's painful,
that
but
is
they got it. They got
the
it right.
correct choice. Yeah.
But yeah, no. I mean, it's amazing how many times I come back to, and you don't think about these things until you have these conversations, right? And you kind of open, and especially you need to be open-minded and look. Hey, you're not perfect. You can make mistakes. You can be a dumbass. We're all like that, right? You need to be open-minded about everything. But it's amazing to me how much I come back to my time in the Boy Scouts, as so many American boys, how valuable that was, man. My goodness, I learned so many things: how to make radios, how to work on cars, woodworking, how to start a fire, triangulation. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it keeps coming back to me when we have these conversations how absolutely killer valuable that was, because so many I feel by listening, to these, and it's just for fun. I don't take any of this stuff seriously. Conspiracy theories, TikTok, none of that. It's just for fun, right? But how many of these people are, like you, as you had said, just vitally ignorant on everything. And
Yeah.
if they had just spent a decade in the Boy Scouts, like so many of us did, sorry. Oh wow.
Yep.
It it's
My Boy Scouts experience was growing up in the country, and it was
well, either way.
you didn't have a choice. You
Yeah,
had to
either way.
learn how to do things like change a tire and
Fire,
change oil. And,
farm life, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, that kind of
I mean, I had a little bit of that with my family and of course fishermen and stuff. But I mean, and I'm not gonna, because I did learn a lot from them. But really the Boy Scouts it's just such an essential thing. And these days it's become a bit of a meme. And I think that's unfortunate because
Back
it's
when I
valuable.
was in high school, I went to a Christian school for
Yeah.
high school, and one of the deacons of the church owned a body shop. And the pastor, who also was the principal of the school at the time, because they just started it and they hadn't hired an actual principal, he had him come in and teach all the boys how to do that, how to
Yeah.
do basic car maintenance stuff.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
awesome.
was awesome to me. It was a fantastic experience, and I've used it so many times just from that one, I don't know, 3 hours or whatever it was he was there teaching us how to do this stuff.
Sure.
And it's shocking how few people know how. Like one time, I remember this, babe. You remember when you got a flat tire? You were going with the girls, and you guys got a flat tire, and you knew how
Get
to
out and
change
change
it, and they were shocked. They didn't know what they didn't.
Oh,
They
sure.
didn't know you knew how to do that. Yeah. That kind of stuff. Like it's shocking to me. Even yes, young women, you should know how to do it too, because there might be a time when you're driving, your stuff blows out, and you got no one to help you now.
Yeah,
Now you're
and
just
it's
stuck.
so easy. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I actually had that experience, a decade or so ago, I don't know, 15 years. But we were going up to see a movie, take the kids to see a movie, right? And the tire blew out, and I got out, looked at it, and just opened the trunk, pulled out the tire, changed it, 5 minutes, right? Something like
Yeah.
that, 5, 7 minutes, and got back in the car and took off, and everyone in the car was looking at me.
We
You
had
did
a
that so fast. It's like,
well, it
well,
doesn't
it's
take
not really
long.
that hard.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of physical work.
Yeah.
We went on a day trip. I don't know, probably about 10 years ago now, something like that. We went on this little day trip just to southern Ohio, down there in the hills. It's really nice down there, and just drove around and went to sites and went to some of the mounds and stuff. But on the way back, we were about 30 minutes away from home, and kaboom, tire blows out
Mm,
on the highway,
mm,
which was terrifying because it's very easy to lose control of your car if your tire blows out on the highway.
sure.
But I pulled over, did it did it in, I don't know, probably about 7-10 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark. All we had was a donut. We didn't actually have a spare, so we had to drive like, I don't know, probably 20 or so miles still on that donut, which you're really not supposed to do. But I didn't have a choice. But it's just one of the examples of like certain things that everybody, if you live, not in New York City, where you're probably not going to ever have a car, you just take the subway or some stupid shit like that. If you live anywhere, in America especially, which is a very car heavy country, you need to know how to do certain basic things like that.
You
If
do.
you live, even if you, like you were talking about how to start a fire, you'd be surprised how few people can start a fire with a lighter. They just can't get it to go. They can't get it to go for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
Yeah.
And
And it's so easy too.
it's not complicated.
Yeah.
The fire wants to go. It wants to do what you're telling it to do. But my point is all of these very, what we would consider simple, basic things, bro. I just watched this video of these teachers, 7th grade teachers, a whole bunch of them, talking about how these kids coming up in America, they're done. They're done. They can't even read at a 4th grade level, and they're in 7th grade.
Yeah, that's a
Like
different conversation though. Yeah.
But my point is, all of that is going to come up, and it's been happening for decades, where just general knowledge has been decreasing. What we call common sense. People don't know how to do anything. They just genuinely don't, like you said originally, and it's just getting worse. It just keeps getting worse to the point where if you're a young guy and you're listening to me, even if you're a little bit older guy, if you have a skill, just about anything, if you
Mhm.
know how to do something, you can make so much money right now because so many people either don't want to do it or they absolutely have no idea how to do it. And
True.
that's going to keep happening because the people who knew how to do all that stuff, the old boomers
Mhm.
and the older Gen X that own all these businesses and whatever, that they're all retiring or they're dying, one or the other. One way
Sure.
or the other, they're not in business anymore. Somebody's got to fill that gap. Those things are still going to need to be done. So there's humongous opportunity, the likes of which I don't know if this country's seen in 70 years, where there's just going
Well,
to be these huge gaps in the market where if you have just some basic skills, you could make an interesting living off of it.
yeah. Well, there is a dearth of tradesmen, particularly carpentry, which is really interesting because of all the trades, the carpenters make the least, even though they do
Mhm.
the most work. But isn't it always that way? But for those of you who want to know how to make a fire and you have a lighter, it's it's pretty simple. Hopefully, you also have a utility tool upon you, which you should go nowhere without, by the
Mm.
way. But get yourself a piece of wood off the ground. Doesn't matter, right? Just find a piece of wood, and then find a stick. Make that stick perpendicular to the wood. You're holding it, and then just take your little utility knife and just kind of shave little pieces off the bottom of that stick. Keep doing it till you get yourself a nice little pile of shavings, and then put some stick wherever you're on the ground. That's not like don't put it in the water. Yeah,
Yeah.
but put it on the ground and then put some sticks over the top of it and light that little pile of shavings there, and whew, you're good.
And there you have made fire.
You have made fire. Yeah, it's not hard. It's so easy. But I mean, honestly, I'm kind of surprised why not every human doesn't have a little utility tool in their bag or their pocket. I mean, it's kind of there's so I have mine. I bought I have a Vetronox. I went and got something really quality, but you don't need that. But I use that thing all the time, dude, all the time. I just had to do a little project because there's like a counter cabinet in the kitchen that for putting pots and pans and stuff on, and the screws had pulled out of the concrete tiling, right, or out of the tiling
Yeah.
in the well, whatever's behind it. And she said, we gotta fix this because it was irritating her. I was like, okay, fine, call the frickin' people that do it. And she's like, well, it's expensive. And I was like, fine, all right, fine. So I did it, right? But I have a toolbox that has all kind of fancy little tools in it. I just used my utility tool and did the whole job. I was being lazy.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I drowned as a result. What are you talking about, Ben? It's really easy to start a fire, guys. It's not hard. You don't need to do all of that kind of flint and steel, which is fun though. That is kind of fun, and you get those little flint and steel necklaces, so you always have fire making on you. But you don't. Most people have a lighter or matches, but you need to have kindling. You need to have something that will accelerate the fire and make it larger so that it will catch the sticks, right?
Yeah.
And then once the sticks are going, then you can put bigger pieces of wood and et cetera, et cetera. But it's really not hard. You just need to get shavings off of a stick and just make a pile of them. They're all kind of curly, and you just, it's like a little curly tinder ball, and just, you light that, it'll light right up, and it'll light everything around it. It's really easy.
Yep.
So anyway,
Shockingly easy.
mm, and they even taught us to how to take a because when you're camping and stuff, you should always have yourself some cord or twine or what's the proper survivalist term for it these days? They got a word for it, but string.
Yeah.
You should always have some on you, some cordage. Oh, there it is, cordage. That's the word they like to use these days. But you got to have some string on, yeah. And if you take another stick and tie the string and make like a little mini bow, it's cute. And you take it and keep it just loose enough so that you can wrap the string around another stick, and you just take that little bow and like move it back and forth real quick. It'll start fire just from simple friction.
Good old friction.
Yeah,
Another
yeah.
easy way, if you're in a sunny place, you have a little portable magnifying glass. You can start one that
Oh
way.
yeah, you could
Well,
do it that way too. Yeah. Flint and steel. There's many ways, but like I said, most people have a lighter. So,
there's another very easy way is if you don't want to carry, or if you don't have all that stuff, and if you happen to have a 9 volt or higher battery,
mm,
all you need is a little bit of wire, which
yep.
steel wool works, and boom, now you got fire.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
so many ways to
There
do it.
is.
Like I said, the fire wants to be lit. It
Hmm.
wants to exist. It wants to burn.
It is.
But the fact that so many people struggle with it is kind of funny to me, to be honest with you, because it's really not that complicated. But it's just another example of what you're talking about. There's a problem of basic survival skills
Hmm.
that honestly, if you have kids, you're listening to me, you need to get your kids, teach them these things. If you
Yeah.
know them.
Now
Or if
this
you don't know
does
them, learn them with them.
This
It's a great thing.
conversation does not involve the people who put the diesel or the gasoline into the other, nor the people who try to put some kind of combustible liquid into their Tesla. So,
So think about this. You're smart enough to have, or somebody in your family is smart enough to have enough money to buy a Tesla and everything that comes with it. And yet, you, you tried to put some sort of propellant
yeah,
into your
yeah,
Tesla to
yeah.
make it work.
Yeah,
Uh,
nothing bad's got to come out of that. No,
nah,
no. But
fine.
speaking of that, transversing from the Tesla in the
Yeah.
American conversation, the idiots that own them, to China though.
Uh-oh.
There's some very
China done.
interesting things going on in China. China is right now in the middle of a bubble pop. Remember how back in the 90s the Japanese had the bubble pop? It
Hmm.
was a big
Hmm.
one. They were literally everybody in Japan was kind of like a Saudi prince at that time. The amount of money they were rolling in, uh, but the bubble popped, and of course, Japanese see it as a huge, huge decline. But in reality, because they had an actual foundation under them, the average Japanese has more money than anybody else average in the world, right?
Right.
Except for maybe Scandinavia, but their taxes are insane up there. But nevertheless, so Japan had a big bubble pop, a big one, but they're fine, right? Not a problem. China's going through the same thing right now, but it's far more worrisome because there's no foundation under it, right? And the
Mm.
level of corruption in China is well, I it's they should make a documentary on it because I don't know that. Oh, this is a big statement. I'm going to say it though. I don't know that there's any example I can think of in history where there's more rampant corruption than what's going on in China. That's a big
Hmm.
statement, but
Hmm.
It's it's crazy because the thing is in China, if you're not corrupt and trying to cheat, you're dying. So
Yeah.
everybody is caught up in it. It's so bad. But anyway, their bubble is popping really bad, and there's a lot of really bad things happening in China. But even amongst that, you still get kind of the goofy, stupid human tricks, right?
Sure.
And for instance, America put sanctions on China's, particularly Huawei, because it is government owned, with the chips, right? So they can't buy the Taiwanese chips and stuff like that. But Huawei just came out with their new Mate 60. And they're trying to, they got this big propaganda, patriotic, nationalistic propaganda thing going on with the CCP, trying to get everyone to buy Huawei. And they come out with like, we have defeated the American imperialists, and they're, of course, as if China isn't the ultimate example of imperialism, but
Mm.
nevertheless, and we have developed our own chip in house in China that we've defeated the Americans. Yeah! Okay. But of course, what they really have done is Huawei has had a big honking supply of Korean chips they had bought from 5 years ago. That's what they're using. Of course, the cameras are Sony, and a lot of the interior stuff is German because they basically copied and stole from Nokia, which is why Nokia's gone. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's not really made in China at all. It's all foreign shit. But they're saying, we defeated them. Look what we've done on our own for their propaganda. Of course, they overheat because they're made in China, and it's corruption. It's not like the Chinese aren't capable of building something proper. It's just the corruption is so rampant that it makes everything shit. That's the reality of it. So they're overheating like crazy. They say we have a satellite phone. Apple doesn't have that. Of course, Huawei. If you go to a Huawei store, if I showed you pictures of a Huawei store and I showed you pictures of an Apple store, you wouldn't be able to tell me which is which. They've copied it completely, right?
Mm.
Because they want to be Apple, right? And it makes
Right.
sense too, because if you listen to the owner, the creator of Huawei, he uses iPhones himself. He's a big fan. Weird, I know, but it is what it
Yeah.
is. But nevertheless, and the satellite phone doesn't actually work, and it's got a lot of problems, right? But of course, the camera's always on, and the government is spying on you constantly, right? So that's a bad point. But anyway, they're doing all this propaganda. You got Chinese nationalists out there, praising it and saluting at the Huawei stores. Oh, it's ridiculous the propaganda coming out of the CCP in regards to Huawei right now because we've defeated the Americans, rah, 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 right? And then the new iPhone 15 goes on sale, instantly sold out. They can't keep them in stock.
Yeah.
Because here's
Yeah.
the thing with Asians, with all iPhone owners, it's a cult, right?
It is.
iPhone is a cult. Now, I'm not going to knock iPhone because they are good quality products. They really are. It's not
They're fine.
the best at anything. You can find a better smartphone than iPhone, but they are well made. They really are. But the thing is, the culture around it is excessively cultish, particularly here in Asia, because and China being the biggest example of it, but not the only. To where if you don't have an iPhone, well, then you're just you're just some hayseed in the countryside who is uncouth and unmodern, right? That's the thing with it. It's a status symbol. Even though the CCP put so much pressure and so much money, pressuring all of because the entire CCP administration all use iPhones, but they were telling them that don't you dare get caught in public with them, and calling up companies and saying we don't want your employees using iPhones and doing all this kind of stuff. They can't say it openly because they desperately need Apple because
Mm.
most companies have left China. Apple has moved several factories out, but not completely. Foxconn is still operating at 50% capacity or so. But so they desperately need Apple and their affiliates. So they can't directly say it, but indirectly they're making all these behind the scenes conversations with people. We're going Huawei. Don't be caught with an iPhone. But then after all that work, all that effort, all that pressure, when iPhone drops, everybody and their brother goes and buys one.
Hmm.
So So failure. And the Tesla thing comes in this way. Tesla has cameras all over it. And it's because Tesla's really trying to do the self-driving car thing, right? They're really pushing for it. Honda and Toyota, I think, have done a much cheaper and easier version of it, but my Tesla's doing its thing. You let them do their thing, I guess. But because of that, and the fact that the Chinese government is so adamant about it, they probably know something we don't. But the Chinese government feels that Tesla is a Western spy object for America. The CIA is using it to spy on the Chinese, and I don't know. I guess it could be true, but whatever. But of course, if you have money in China, you want a Tesla because once again, status item, right? But now they're blocking Teslas from going into certain areas. So if you own a Tesla in China, there's many areas like just going downtown to go shopping in the city, you can't drive your car into it
Right.
because they're getting so paranoid, and it's because the CCP is desperate to hold power, but they're going to lose it because the bubble is popping, unemployment is ridiculous. We have $1 trillion bankruptcy collapses. It's wow, dude. It's wow, right? So China is going to be very interesting to watch here coming in the future, but because usually when they put out that kind of patriotic, nationalistic propaganda, it works fairly well, but it's not working anymore. So,
Good.
anyway,
That's a good thing in my estimation. Anything that hurts the CCP is big thummy uppy for me.
well, it's actually a
Um,
CPPCP. Say it
yeah,
correctly now.
yes. Anything that hurts them is good for me. What we really should call them is the National Socialist Chinese Party because that's really what they are. They
Yeah,
basically
that wouldn't translate into
abandon.
Nazi very well.
Yeah, they abandoned communism long ago.
They do
They're
know how to
just a
start
straight up.
fire.
They're just a straight up, basically fascist state at this point.
Oh no, they
Uh,
are. They are. Yeah. And it's not saying the American government's any better, but we do at least have some release valves in America,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But here's the thing, Sheldon, making the joke. Hopefully, they know how to start a fire. I would imagine the average Chinese person is far more capable than the average American right now. Actually, yeah, those people, the
Ridiculous.
majority of those people are poor, and they have to find ways to survive, dude. They know how to do all kinds of things. Yeah,
Reliable.
they're
They're not
very
reliable.
self-reliant
Resilient.
people. They have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Resourceful. That's the word I was looking for. Very resourceful.
Well, and it keeps bringing me back to that old statement, Thundero, that old a proverb. Empire enters on the iron boot and falls under the silk slipper. It's very, very true, and therefore a proverb.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is a reason we think people say things like history repeats itself. Not really true. It's just there's a lot of the same things, same themes that happen, and it's because of that. It's because human nature doesn't change. So when things are going good, people take advantage and they don't prepare. We have numerous different proverbs and psalms and stories and things about this exact problem of not preparing for when the winter comes or whatever. And because of man's arrogance, which is funny, we're back to arrogance. Because of that, well, you end up with collapsed civilization, and it's always the civilizations always have this arrogance that it won't happen to them. Well, we got it figured out. We're all right. Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
History says otherwise. History says
It
otherwise.
does. It does. And of course, that what was his name? Solomatem, or what do they call him? Solomon. The Jews call him
Yeah.
Solomon, right? That old Pharaoh. Nothing new under the sun, right? But
He
hey, it's
understood.
a Grimlock. He knows all about deep, dark secrets because he's an underground dweller.
No, I do not. Half of my heritage by law obligates me to say I know nothing.
Right, right.
He
But
sees
you are a
nothing.
Grimlock, and those are underground dwellers, are they not?
Oh,
No,
Who's Underground Dweller? I coughed while you said that. Sorry.
Morlock, Grimlock. I don't know. Where do you get your name from?
Grimlock is the amazing asshole commander of the Dinobots.
Yep. Transformers.
The
Oh,
the di- the Dinobot who knows he is as strong as Megatron and Optimus and lets them know it.
oh, I see. Oh, I see. So he's fashioned himself after an animal. Good,
Yep.
Yeah.
good. Of course, not that fashioning yourself after a car would be better, but I'd much rather be a 1967 Pontiac Firebird than a frickin' dinosaur.
Well, depends on the dinosaur. What if you were a pterodactyl and you could fly?
Yeah, I'd still take the Firebird. Thank you. Yeah, that's
I will
my
not
dream car,
disagree
by
with
the way.
I will not disagree with Chester there because
He did pick your car.
I do love my Firebirds.
Dude, the 1967 Pontiac is badass. It is.
Yeah.
It is an absolute American classic work of art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can have your little Mustangs, your little pony cars. Go ahead.
I'll take them. Thank you. Yeah,
But stick with me in
1964
my
and a half one over
Pontiac.
here,
Thank you
please.
very much.
I'll take one.
What, Mustangs? Yeah, no, they've gotten pretty, haven't they?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, they were kind of shit, but they've certainly kept pushing. They've made something nice now. Anyway, we should probably cover some of the things I brought up.
Maybe. We can think.
Whatever, maybe,
Maybe.
possibly. And it's a little bit esoteric today, but there you guys go. You can see what I'm going to do, and let me go ahead and bring it up here. So I'm sure everyone is aware of what's going on with this. I did send an email to these uh, bounding into comics regarding this freaking thing on the bottom. We'll see if I get any response. Go ahead.
Uh-oh. Hang on one second. Being special in the head. There it goes. Oh. Rumble rejects UK Parliament's request to demonetize Russell Brand in light of sexual assault accusations. Quote, we have devoted ourselves to the vital cause of defending a free internet.
Okay. Now, I could care less about Russell Brand. He's kind of quirky and weird, and he's kind of that mad professor thing. I've heard him say some things I agree with, some things I don't. I don't really care about Russell Brand one way or other. He can be interesting, but if I had to choose between one rambler and another, I'll take Razor Fist any day because they're both ramblers, right?
Yeah.
And so what but whatever. I'm indifferent. However, I'm not indifferent to this kind of nonsense because understand with these accusations coming against him, there are no criminal charges whatsoever. There is nothing been
Yep.
filed with any police. There's nothing like that at all. These are just simply character breaking accusations. There's no legality to it whatsoever at all. And these accusations are very random from a decade or more ago. And all of the accusations, except for one weird little one, but all the other ones are basically, I had sex with Russell Brand and he didn't marry me. That's
Pretty much,
basically
yeah.
what it comes down to. He's not being
Meh.
accused of raping anyone. He's not being accused of date drugging anyone. None of that. They simply had relationship with him and he just kind of, okay, that was great. We had sex. Next. And they didn't like it. That's
Right.
the if you go read it, that's what they're complaining about. There is one that's a little bit of an accusation, and he seemingly in an email admitted to it, but yet she continued dating him for quite a while after the fact. But there is one that is a bit troublesome. Nevertheless, the vast majority is just stupid noise, and there is no criminal charges whatsoever. However, the reaction, because Russell Brand speaks out against the left, which he is technically part of. He's kind of a Sargon Akkad type of guy. He's a classical liberal, and basically they want to destroy him because they don't like any dissenting voices. So the full press attack. YouTube is demonetizing him for no reason. I mean, there's no reason to demonetize him. There are no legal charges here, right? Et
Right.
cetera, et cetera. But it's gone so far that we literally have members of the British Parliament sending letters to Rumble. Rumble showed this online, and they were offended by this letter, and as they should have been, literally asking them because this guy maybe did something we don't like. There's no criminality here, but we just don't like it. We want you to deplatform this guy. And of course, Rumble told him to go sit and spin.
Yeah.
And now, of course, Russell is moving his entire platform onto Rumble, which is a smart thing to do. But really, what I want is I'm not so interested in Russell Brand particularly, but the fact that we have a situation here where there's no criminal charges at all, nor will there be. And the accusations literally are girls saying that I dated, had sex with him, and he didn't marry me, is ultimately what they're complaining about. Because, yeah, okay, he had sex with a bunch of girls. You're not saying he raped you, he didn't drug you. That's not the conceit. The conceit is the fact that he didn't stay with them.
Yeah.
That's the conceit. And all of that to the, I understand, YouTube's a private company. They can do whatever dumbass shit they want to do. They do, right? But the fucking UK Parliament, this is real, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, the United Kingdom is completely and utterly lost. Like I jokingly say things like we're gonna have to, once we fix America, we're gonna have to invade them to set them right because they're gone. They've completely been absorbed by the mind virus on all sides of their political spectrum, and there's no real way to fix it without a strong will to do so. But it's out of control. Like this is a subject of the British Crown that they're harassing for being accused of doing things that aren't illegal. What? So he's accused of enjoying sexual relations with people he probably shouldn't have. Okay.
Yeah, well,
But
he's a lecher. So
yeah,
what?
he was. He's a reformed lecher from by all accounts. But because he's even talked out against it. He says that stuff isn't, he doesn't think it's healthy to live that lifestyle and da 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 da. He
Right.
grew up basically, he grew up. He was living it was easy and coming easy to him, and he was that type of guy, tall, very good orator, very good speaker, charismatic as hell, funny,
Money.
all the money you could ever want.
I
So
suppose he's not bad looking. I don't really know, but
he looks a
maybe.
lot like Jesus. He's got a very Jesus look to him. Um, but my point is, of course, a man like that is going to indulge when he has access that's unlimited. And this was, 10, 15 years ago, whatever, when he was really at his peak.
Mhm.
And this idea that, almost 20 years later, somebody can be like, hey, yeah, he did bad things to me. Let's ruin his entire fucking life.
Oh, yeah.
That's just
He didn't
beyond
do
the
bad
pale of
things, though. He just
sanity.
slept with them. That's
Yeah,
not the
well,
accusation. They're not
he
accusing
did.
him doing bad
He
things.
either
He
did
just
it
slept with them.
he either did it so terribly that they're just like, this guy, or he did it so well that they just couldn't let that go.
Either way. Well, the thing is,
Yeah,
I ain't got half the push this guy's got, and I did the same thing when I was young.
yeah, a lot of men did. But my point is, my overarching point that I'm getting at here is that Britain is completely and utterly lost. The fact that these letters came from the Parliament itself, pretending like they had the force of law behind them and trying to intimidate and manipulate Rumble into, because YouTube did it, so you should do it. Shut the what?
Yeah.
What is
And
this?
good
What
on
is this? High
Rumble.
school?
Good on Rumble.
Like, no, this whole thing's ridiculous. Russell. Well, first of all, the reality is Russell's going to be fine. Push
Oh,
comes
sure.
to shove, he'll just leave the UK. He hasn't always lived in the UK. He lived in America for a while when he was, really big in Hollywood. So he'll just leave the UK if he has to, and take his wife and his kids and get out of there. But it's the fact that they even feel comfortable enough to be doing this. I mean, it's just harassment,
It
is what
is
it is.
insane.
Political harassment.
And there should be something done about it. And speaking of the UK, I'll give you an example that just came up. I saw it today. I watch Sargon's Lotus Eaters from time to time, and these are British guys talk about troubles in Britain, and fair enough. But there's a new book for kids, of course, that came out, sponsored at least in part by the British government.
Mhm.
Okay, saying that all of British history is black history. The blacks
That's
built Stonehenge, the Stuarts were black. I mean, on and on and on and on and on. There are, the white people are just these parasitical invaders, basically. The black people built everything. Now, that is insanely stupid we have literal anthropology to and archaeology to protest this. But it doesn't matter. It's propaganda, and to the kiddies, right? Being at least partially sponsored by the British government. This is another example of extreme overreach. Simple fact of the matter, in my opinion, no government should be sponsoring any private thing that doesn't have to do with the sustaining of peace and prosperity and infrastructure. Beyond that, the government shouldn't be involved in anything. That's what private business is for.
Correct. Private enterprise.
Yeah, private enterprise. Yeah.
Yeah, these people, they're infuriating. I can't imagine being a guy like Sargon having to live under them. And Sargon is a lefty,
He
even
is a
though
liberal. Yeah.
modern lefties pretend like he isn't. Um,
Well, I'm
'cause he's not
probably a
left enough.
classical liberal myself.
You're a lefty.
Yeah.
You're a lefty. The reality of it is, the only way this situation gets fixed is people like you, Chester, are going to have to let people like me fix it. And that means helicopters and communists taking very short tours through the sky in those
I
helicopters.
would rather hire Cobra Commander.
Yeah. Well, listen, I can put on a mask. I can put on the
Fair.
whole deal. I'll wear the whole gimmick. If it gets me to the communists out of the helicopters, that
You
is
shall
scenario,
not stop me this time.
I'll wear
G.I.
whatever you need.
Joe.
I'll even put on a tutu if I get to throw these motherfuckers out these helicopters. I don't care. I'll cross dress for it. I'll do it. My point is, this stuff isn't going to get any better. And just if you just remember, just a few years ago, before the first cancellations started of like your Alex Joneses and some other people who were less famous, we said it was going to get like this. We were warning people that it's just going to keep getting worse. They can already debank you for nothing. Just you can't have a bank account now. You're done.
They did that to Nigel Farage, right?
Yep, Nigel Farage. They did that too. They've done it to other people, like your Andrew Tates. Trump had to close a bunch of his bank accounts. They forcefully closed a billionaire's bank accounts. Just shut them down. These sorts of things they're not going to stop until people in the center left and the right wing form an actual proper alliance and decide to stop them. And the only way to stop them is to make those people who are doing it hurt. You're going to have to use their tactics against them. It's kind of like back in the day when the musket was invented. You know that many, many countries and many, many leaders and generals or whatever they were called, commanders, resisted adopting muskets for a long time because they didn't think it was honorable, right? To shoot somebody like that. Well, those people got killed. They got wiped out. They don't exist anymore. So all those people are gone now, and what's left is we have basically a much more advanced version of the musket and warfare like that. My point is that's where we're at. We're in a situation with this political and social warfare that one side refuses to fight like the other side, and the other side tactic works. And if you do not adopt that tactic, you're going to get destroyed. It's just that's why they lose their mind whenever there's even a little bit of pushback in the same way that they do it. So like you got your DeSantis or whatever, and he puts out different bills, and they start literally losing their mind like he's rounding up Jews and throwing them in gas chambers. It's outrageous. But the reason they do that is because they're terrified of someone actually fighting back properly, not just talking about it. We're gonna elect people. No, that's irrelevant.
When did that
happen? If you send them there and they do nothing? When did what happen?
Jews in gas chambers?
Well, allegedly in 1930s, 40s area.
Really? Do we have any evidence of that whatsoever?
Oh no.
I mean, at all? I mean, bone maybe? Or skin fragment?
Chester, I was using a metaphor. But my point is, until the sane people, the center and the right wing, decide enough is enough and actually do something about it, stop just talking about doing something about it, it's not going to get better. And the reality of it is, as we've talked about on here, you need a balance in the force, if you will, of these political alignments, the predation and the herd mentality of the left, and the pack and the the other form of predation on the right. Both of them have their predators, and they operate in different ways.
Sure.
But these two things have to stay in constant balance, just like the ecosystem, right? You don't want too many predators, and you don't want too much prey, or else things get all wonky. And that's where we're at. So occasionally, to right the ship and get people back to sanity, you have to let Pinochet throw some people out of helicopter. That's it. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Well, I
Just
mean,
a couple.
the
You don't need a
conver-
lot, just a couple.
but the conversation is happening, though. I mean,
Yep.
look at people like Dave Rubin, Sargon of Akkad, Molyneux, et cetera, et cetera. There are many, many of them. Even here, I'm certainly more liberal than most of the people on this channel, and Ben is more liberal than I am. But yet, we're all here having conversations. And we kind of generally agree at this unbelievably nasty shenanigans that are going on, because the simple thing the simple thing is what's under attack here ultimately. A lot of times they focus on gun control stuff, but really what is under attack is free speech. And the thing is, whether you're liberal or conservative, free speech is essential to your freedom. And everyone understands this. It's only the politicians and bankers who see the advantage in utter tyrannical control, which is their goal. It always is. It always is. And the Fruit Loops, who are so easily swayed and used as their press gangs, is really what they are. They're press gangs. And there's so many fools. It brings me back to that image when the BLM stuff was going, which was such a ridiculously stupid thing. If it has, did we not all see the same George Floyd video? I saw it.
Yeah.
I mean, his knee wasn't even on the neck.
No.
So, but okay, whatever. Clearly the evidence in front of your lying eyes doesn't matter. But that whole BLM stuff popped off, and I saw these, which they are comical. But what are the Black Hebrew Israelites? Is that what they call themselves?
Yes.
Those guys, it's just so stupid. But whatever, they got their thing going on, But there was a girl with her boyfriend standing behind her, kneeling over, kissing the boot of one of these big black men. And of course, it's a very telling little picture. I would take that picture and I would put it everywhere for everyone to see, because the simple reality of the matter is this: nobody should be kissing the boot of anybody. I don't care what color or gender that dude was. It's quite irrelevant, right? You should not be doing that kind of thing. That is not the message that is good for anyone. 2, those Black Hebrew Israelites will run a damn train on that girl while her boyfriend watches.
Yeah.
Probably in glee, because he looked like quite the cuck. I mean, let's be honest what those guys really are. Right?
Yeah.
Those are thugs. Have you ever listened to them? But nevertheless, that one image is very telling for me, because, like I said, I don't really care what the gender or color of those dudes, the boot of which she was kissing. That's irrelevant. What is relevant, that the fact that she was doing it.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
I could tell you right now, there's a lot of things I will do to avoid violent conflict. That is not one of them. I would never. There is no human being on earth I would kneel before in.
No one should do
some
that.
form like that.
That's
outrageous behavior.
This is not how we get to equality nor equity, for that matter. Right?
Yeah.
It's certainly not. It was so bad. But here's the thing: that's something that enrages a lot of people. But violence is not being promoted here, YouTube. But however, if you had some fantasy dream of backhanding someone in that situation, who is it that would get backhanded?
Everyone.
Maybe.
Oh.
But if you can only choose one person.
The white girl.
Yeah, damn right.
For being that fucking stupid.
No, you wouldn't even kneel before Zod. You're right, Ben. You're right. That's the point.
I would not. year
It's
before.
because it doesn't matter what side you this whole equity is stealing anyway, but because that's what is being pushed is equity. They did the equality thing and they realized, oh shit, we've had equality for decades, now we have to
Oh
go
shit!
further. The
People aren't
socialism's still
equal.
your shit.
Uh-oh.
But
Some people do better than others.
but
Oopsie.
here's the thing, either way, that is not going to enlighten or enrich your standing, that kind of thinking, and we're seeing more and more of that, and it's really really not good. um but whatever. Russell will be fine, I'm sure. But this, YouTube or some stupid newspaper, of course every newspaper in the UK had the, Russell Brand rapist, even though
Yeah.
that was never the accusation. Keep in mind, there is no accusation of rape here. There's none. But all the UK papers, that's what they ran with, right?
And
But
even if there was, it's an accusation
it is.
from decades ago. Anybody can say that. Everybody knows Russell Brand was a bit of a playboy. He liked him some females,
Oh,
and he was
he
very open
admittedly said
about it.
so. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
there
yeah.
was no doubt. I mean, he had whole stand-up routines about it. How I remember one of his old routines. He was talking about having a threesome, and what turned him off from threesomes is some of the guy's stuff got on him. He said, "Ah, that's enough of that," and that was the end of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Uh,
you talk about two dudes and a girl.
yeah,
Me and two girls, never a problem. But I never actually did it the same girl at the same time with the dude because ew.
yeah.
But I
That's
have swapped though, where there were
oh
two
no,
girls and me and my buddy, and we did swap girls
oh,
in the middle of it.
Chester, you're a degenerate.
I know I was, dude. I did, but that was even ooh enough. That for me, it was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, I got around. But what do you want, dude? I was, tall and pretty good shape, saxophone player, with a at least middle famous band, and you know, girls are girls, dude. Like I
Yes.
said, I made a comment on that. I got chastised, but I made a comment because Ben was trying to pick on me, asking me if I ever been a male cheerleader, like as if. But because there was a period where I was bouncing at this club, which was it's kind of like a Chippendales club, for the ladies, right? And it's got male
Oh yeah.
dancers, and I was a bouncer there, and they just didn't have enough dancers for their private parties, like bachelorette parties, things like that. And they asked me if I could, step in and sub in. I was like, oh, fine, because they were offering good money. I did about 6 months, so I technically was a male stripper for about 6 months. But here's the thing: I have been to many bachelor parties in my life, many. Not only because I have a big family, because I'm a bouncer, right? And I'm bouncing at strip clubs, and that's a very common place to have a bachelor party, right? So I've seen many, many, many. Here's the thing: I've never once seen. Now, maybe you have different experiences, but I've never once seen any guy doing anything illicit with the girl. They're not getting blowjobs from the girl. They're not having sex with the girl in the back corner. None of that's happening. It isn't happening. I've never seen it ever. And I've seen way more bachelor parties than any of you combined, probably, simply because of my job. Here's the thing: in that 6 months of doing bachelorette parties, you would be absolutely shocked how quick Aunt Betty puts a dick in her mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I don't know what it
Oh, I'm
is.
not
It's
cutting
something
off.
about the environment that the women think it's okay. I mean, the middle age, she's married. You're going around kind of swinging. You're literally doing the helicopter with your dick, and old Betty grabs a hold of it and just sticks her right in her mouth, dude. I am not shitting you. And here's
Yeah.
the thing: if you're getting married and your wife says she's going to have a bachelorette party, cancel the wedding immediately. Walk away from that girl. I'm telling you.
Well, it depends on what that
No,
what that
no,
entails.
I'm telling you. I have insight that you guys don't have. Women are absolutely off their shit at those parties. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. It's something psychological going on. Men, when here's the thing, Hollywood's full of shit. We all know this. But when men are actually, and you guys have experienced this, when they're in front of strippers or in a situation where strippers are there, men are actually very respectful and quiet.
Usually, yeah.
They're not, grabbing at the stripper or unless they're really drunk, and that's why the bouncer's there. But I'm telling you, I did this for 12 years. I was a bouncer, guys. And it's so rare. Guys are quiet and extremely respectful to the stripper. Those strippers are well safe and protected in that job. They're not in danger at all. But I cannot stress to you in that 6 months only where I did that. Those women don't give a shit. They'll grab up on your balls. They will grab a hold of you. They'll slap your ass. They have no restraint whatsoever. I don't know what it is. There's something going on in that kind of environment. But I'm telling you, if your girl says she's going to a bachelorette party, walk away from that chick. Walk away from her because she's definitely fucking around on you, dude. She's definitely doing it.
I love
Sorry.
I love it.
Anyway,
I love it. That's all I got. I just love it, Chester. Proceed.
I had to, hold on Betty there,
No, they. You're absolutely correct though about male strippers. They have no shame.
They don't.
I used to know a couple that way back in the day before I was married. I knew a guy who did that for a little while, and yeah, they have no shame, none, and they have no boundary when it comes to these men. They treat them. All the stuff that Hollywood says, like you were saying, how men treat women. Be a male stripper, and women will treat you exactly like that.
Oh, much worse.
Like
way worse. Because men are, a stripper won't take it. A female stripper won't take it. You don't put your hands on her; she get mad, and the bouncer's go to deal with you. Men just don't do that. They just don't do it. But the women don't take the same thing into account, right? And I'm telling you, they don't give a shit. And being a dude, and some lady's grabbing a hold of your dick and she's got it in your mouth, what do? You let her suck on your dick. I mean, Grimlock, right? No comment. Wow.
It depends if she's ugly or not, because I don't give a damn.
You'd have to be pretty ratchet. Like
there's a certain limit.
The chick that was living in that apartment I was at, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need a blowjob that bad.
And how many brides to be? This is the night before the wedding. Have I seen get absolutely fucking plowed, dude?
Yeah. Of course.
Not admitting my involvement in such plowing at all.
It's their last chance at freedom, Chester. Don't you understand? Freedom, because marriage is a prison.
I guess, but understand the men are not doing this. The men are not doing this. I don't care what Hollywood tells you. I don't care the bullshit they put on their screen. Men are not doing it. Women are. Anyway,
by and large, I would say men are far more loyal when it comes to that. Once a man's decided that
I think so.
This is my move, that's their move until, otherwise deferred.
Yeah, no, women always seem, not all, but a lot of women seem to be looking for the next opportunity. That's true. Yeah. But speaking of a girl that you might not want your dick in said mouth.
Oh, God, definitely not. Leslie Jones continues to lash out at Ghostbusters critics. Oh, we need a comment here, John. What are we doing? Describes them as, quote, sad keyboard warriors living in their mother's basement.
Sure.
There's some of that.
Sure.
It's also tiresome. It's the same line over and over again by an untalented she-ape who... Oh yeah, fuck her and anything that looks like her. You're supposed to feed bananas to it. You're not supposed to make it a star.
Ooh, ow, ooh. I didn't say it, YouTube. I did not say it.
I
keep in mind, he's got a black card.
Harambe's sister should just shut the fuck up, is what I'm saying.
Okay, just remember, it's not me.
Because the bitch ain't talented, and I'm blaming it on your people. If it wasn't for white liberals who thinks,
oh God,
her being a fucking walking ape minstrel is funny, the bitch wouldn't have a career.
That would be progressives. I am not one of those.
You're white. You're white. It's your fault.
Okay,
you can't handle your people.
Fine.
Chester,
no, fine. I'll take it.
I gotta handle the niggas when they burn down neighborhoods. You gotta handle your whites
You're right.
when they allow these she apes to run wild.
That is fair.
But I don't know
Chester,
if
you'll
she's
know
funny or
the
not
answer
because
to
I've never
this, though.
seen her. I
She's
haven't
not.
She's
seen her.
not. She's
She's not.
absolutely not.
However, this is really old news.
Yes,
I mean,
Chester,
8 years ago.
you'll know the answer to this because now I have to know. I might be converted to be willing to play D&D if the answer to this comes out the way I want.
Mhm.
Is there an ape race, like ape men, monkey men, anything like that?
Yeah.
You can play them. You can
Oh,
play
sure.
as these people.
There are multiple ones. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I might have to make an ape minstrel because that's hilarious.
He's like Chester's like, I finally got his ass.
Well,
Got him.
There's one particular race that has 4 arms. 4-armed white-furred gorillas.
I like that.
Mhm.
Good. We need more. We need
Yeah,
more.
but I'm not
people.
attesting to any of this nonsense about her appearance or comedic value.
I am.
You are. However, this lady, I don't know anything about
Her best value is nursing the baby gorillas at the zoo. That's
No
her best value.
But all right, fine. But this lady
Tend
has
to your
been
kin,
harping
bitch,
on
because you're
this
not
for
funny.
7 years, dude. 7
Yeah,
years
we know.
she's been harping on this. And
Oh
the
my
ultimate
God.
thing with the movie, even though they really tried to push the whole female are better as Ghostbusters thing, but
Yeah.
really the problem with that movie, it was just not good. I mean, that's the real crux of the
No,
argument.
the real problem is even women did not want that.
Well, because
they did not want it.
It wasn't funny, dude. It was boring and it dragged and it
Well-
was bizarre.
But it wasn't that. It that's part of it. But the fact of the matter is, every Ghostbusters fan wanted just like in Star Wars. All we wanted was one last ride.
Yeah.
And I blame a lot of this on Bill Murray because Bill Murray was the reason Ghostbusters 3 with the original cast never happened.
Dick, you know that, right?
He is, but that's what I'm saying. We wanted Ghostbusters 3. We wanted one last hurrah, one last ride off into the sun. Yeah, and unfortunately, that is it. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, if you have not played that game yet, please do. It is the one last hurrah. It's the last time you get the 4 together. That's all they wanted. That's all they wanted. You could have introduced new women. But here's the other thing: they picked 3 of the most untalented women ever to be on Saturday Night Live. None of those women are talented. Melissa McCarthy has her moments, but at that point, I think people was tired of seeing her. I know I was.
I've never seen any of them in anything, dude, other than this. I don't know any of them. But I get your point with that because it's just a bad movie. And this is the thing. I mean, sure, it's super woke and progressive, yes. But if it's good, it's still fun. Like for instance, Dungeons and Dragons movie, absolutely adored it. That's got a ton of woke shit in it, but I liked it because it was a good movie. It was fun, and there was a lot of D&D love in it. So there's something to be said where if you make a good movie, your political standing is less important, right?
That's true. Well, it's kind of like Star Trek, right? Star Trek. If you brought out even the Next Generation today, first of all, the left would turn on it immediately because it's far too egalitarian. But secondly, it'd be called woke by a lot of right-wing people because there is a lot of stuff that is very identity politics heavy in there.
Star Trek for sure, dude. Yeah, Roddenberry, utopian future, right?
Yeah. So, but most people who love Star Trek, like everybody in here, we don't care because the stories are well told with good characters, and it doesn't at any point lose itself in its messaging, and that is what's important. You can have, I mean, we've had political propaganda BS in movies since movies began. That's not new.
Yeah, well,
it's always
a story.
Existed.
It's a story to be told, right?
Yeah. So it's not, people get it misconstrued because they think that, people are complaining about woke. It's not so much the woke itself, while that is annoying and it eventually you get tired of it. It's the fact that it's sacrificing good storytelling for the woke. Right?
Yeah, that's the issue. Part of the problem. It's the equity problem. Because you're getting a lot of people who are incapable. You definitely need meritocracy. If this was a great, funny visually stunning movie, the majority of people wouldn't say anything other than, "Hey, I liked it." Now there's always going to be some people who complain because that's their bread and butter. But
Right.
for me, I don't, the whole female thing. I get it. I understand the whole woke nonsense. I get it. But it's just a bad movie, and there
Well,
are many
going back to
examples of
this
that.
particular movie and why they haven't been able to nail Ghostbusters since really the first one. It's the second. We'll be kind and say the second one too. The reason why it doesn't work and the reason why it hasn't worked is because for whatever reason, after the success of the first one, everybody got confused of what Ghostbusters is, why it
Yeah,
worked. It's not a kids movie. It's not even really a family movie, but it's fine for families to watch. It was a young adult comedy.
yeah.
That's what it was.
And lightning
And
in a bottle is what it was. And the second one is
yeah,
nowhere near as good as the first, right?
they never even kind of went that way again since
No,
then because
because
kids loved it so much and it
it's
sells
lightning in a
merch.
bottle.
Yeah.
And they had success with the show, The Real Ghostbusters, for sure. And that affected, of course, the second movie and everything that came after it. But, when you try to sum up the original success of the first one, it's hard to do. But when you ask what kind of movie it is, well, it's a buddy movie, that's for
Yeah.
sure. But people really miss it's also a love story.
Yeah.
And it's an important element in the movie. But ultimately, if you want to put something first, it's a buddy movie. It's a bunch of guys that are just trying to work together to find some kind of success. You can throw any theme you want on that. They're try to start up a car company. They're trying to start up a vegetable canning company. It doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
In this case, the ghosts added some nice little interesting gadgets and some visuals and stuff like that. But it's a buddy film of a group of guys trying to find success in the world, but it's also a love story.
Right.
And the second one dropped that off quite a bit. And of course, this one right here. I mean, I don't know exactly how Thor Boy fits into it, but my God, he should be embarrassed of his performance in that movie.
Well, listen, I really like Chris Hemsworth. I think he's a good dude by and large. Uh,
Well, he put up with that
but
shit.
because they paid him, and because he has this notion in his head because he's really good looking that he's funny because women laugh at him.
Oh,
Chris,
yeah,
sweetheart, they're not laughing at you because you're funny.
yeah,
They're laughing at you because you're hot and you can't do any wrong.
right.
Uh,
No, I guess
but
he is a hottie.
a lot of men, yeah, a lot of men don't understand that, right? See, women understand that. Don't let it. Women who aren't complete ignoramuses,
I'll be back in a minute.
they get that. That's why they use that to their advantage. But a lot of men don't understand that. And Mr. Hemsworth has been convinced by Marvel and other things that he has great comedic timing. And sometimes some of his bits, his little shtick can be a little bit funny, I guess. But he's not, for instance, he's not Bill Murray. He's not that guy. Where Bill is just effortlessly funny. He can just turn on that charm whenever he wants, or Norm Macdonald, or there's a litany of guys you can list.
Yep.
That just have this switch, the funny switch. They can just turn it on and go. And Chris isn't that guy. And he'll never be that guy. And that's fine.
No.
He doesn't need to be. He's a charming dude. He's a good dude. By all accounts, he's a good father. You don't need to also be hilarious, Chris. It's fine. So my point is, what happened is somewhere along the way, somebody convinced him that he needs to try and do these comedy bits, these half comedy action movie, whatever situations. I mean, look at all the last two Thor movies. They're something. And this movie was no exception. In this movie, he's mostly just comic relief. He gets literally sexually harassed through big parts of it, and then turns into the bad guy at the end because ghosts and things.
Reasons.
Yeah, reasons. It's a very poorly written movie, like Chester said. It's very poorly directed because they weren't trying to make a movie. They were trying to make a statement. And that statement was, women can do it too, see? And, well, they couldn't and didn't. And now this movie is largely forgotten except for by people like Leslie Jones, who can't let go of the fact that people didn't like her. And some people did what our boy Grimlock here was doing and started calling her different forms of simians. So she can't let that go.
Prove it wrong.
7 years later. Oh no! This movie
Making the world suffer because Gorilla Grodd left her. God damn it!
This movie was a big mistake. All these women can do it too. Films. I don't think a single one of them have made money. Uh, they've all been just net losses entirely for the companies and for the production houses. And it's because nobody asked for this. Women weren't asking for a chick Ghostbuster. Nobody. What?
No.
Why would? No, they want to see Bill Murray because Bill Murray's funny. That's what they want to see. They want to see Dan
Well,
Aykroyd and the boys all together because
well,
that's what they
here's
want.
the funny thing. The one woman they would have wanted to see put on the proton pack was
Yeah,
fucking Janine because of the cartoon series, and you didn't even bring her for other
she
than
ain't
a
gonna be there.
cameo.
She ain't
Janine
there.
was great,
Yep.
Yeah,
and so was
that's
Sigourney.
yeah,
Yep.
but that would have been the one because they had already established that in the cartoon series that she was basically the fifth Ghostbuster.
Well, Sigourney Weaver would have been fantastic. I mean, we already
Yeah.
know she's got the chops for action and things. She could have brought some
Oh
some
yeah.
actual feminine power to the
Right.
if that's what they were looking for.
Well,
And you don't
well,
get Sigourney.
But you could easily
You
have
get
taken the fact that Egon and Janine got married, and they
yep.
had kids, and one of their
Yep.
and he's passed on, but she's kind of managing things, and her daughter is part of the team, and they put together a team. I would at least thrown at least one male in there. They could have done this and fine. And like I said, the woke stuff aside, it's just a bad movie. But the thing with
Yeah.
this article is talking about Leslie Jones particularly. Is just can't let it go. And
Yes, because this was the era. That was the time period where the plebs started pushing back. It started a year before with Gamergate, but they can't let it go because that was the beginning of an actual pushback where people said, "Nah, fuck this," and they looked back at us and said, "How dare you?" That's why they can't let it go.
Yep. Pretty much. They like I was saying earlier, they don't like it when people use their tactics against them, and that's why you should use their tactics against them. They work. Uh, this this whole era that what he was just talking about was so. Oh my God! The reason why so much of the last decade or so, there's just been this dearth of classics of movies that you can watch forever and ever and ever, over and over and over again. There's a couple in there, but by and large, they don't exist. And even the young people I talk to agree with me. Like they're like, yeah, movies from 20 years ago are just better. They're better to rewatch. They're better to watch because they weren't made. They were made to entertain you. They weren't made for any other reason. And these sorts of movies were not made for that. They were made with a heavy agenda in mind, and it shows. And because of that, everything else has to be put on the back burner. You can't split your focus when you're doing creative things like that. You just can't. It's just not you're not your brain won't do it. You're going to have to sacrifice one for the other if you try to do it, and that's what this is the result right here.
yeah.
You get garbage. Yes.
Now I do have another question, and this is it definitely connects to this movie, but many others. Why is it that promoting female actresses and therefore girl power and all that kind of stuff, I get it. Why is this always also synonymous with lesbianism?
I don't know because it is odd to me. My wife actually just pointed something out. She's sitting here with me. So, what made the guy who made the Ghostbusters movie like kind of put him in the spotlight, and then most of this cast or a big part of this cast was the movie Bridesmaid, and it's actually funny. It's actually a chick flick that's funny. They
I've
actually
never
pulled it
seen it.
off.
Yeah.
Um, but it was a one and done. They've never even touched that again, not even close. And because they were able to do that, Hollywood and the producers and things were willing to let him play whatever his name is. I can't remember his name now. Let him play, and well, as you see, this was the result. But the reason why the lesbianism is so strong in it is very strange. I don't know the answer to that question,
Well, because
but it
most,
does seem to be
almost
that way.
all women are not lesbians, right?
Correct.
Feminists are not. I mean, the majority of all women, like 96% of them, 97% are not lesbians, right?
Yes. My wife's cackling or cracking up at the thought of that Bridesmaid. One of her favorite movies. Yeah, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. You'd have to ask them what's up with all the lesbo stuff.
It is weird,
Because
because
that's what it always seems to lead to somehow.
well, I mean, because even if you take feminists, right, still percentage-wise, 96, 97% of them are not lesbians, right?
Right.
So, but yet every one of these progressive movies always have a lot of homosexuality in it. And I just don't understand the connection. I understand girl power, cool. I get it. One of the problems they have, and I think Rey from Star Wars is a perfect example, is like for instance, let's do a juxtaposition. Let's take House, Hugh Laurie, right? Now Hugh Laurie, this dude has got chops going way back, right? This flying circus guy, Monty Python, Blackadder, he's British. I know some of you don't know that because he did such a good job in House, but this guy's got chops, and he's earned his bones, right? I mean, he's put his time in, right? And he's very accomplished and very good at what he does, right? So you put him in House. Now there is a group of people always around House, and they're always way too pretty, but they're irrelevant. They're kind of the color of the striped plaid shirt he's wearing that day. It doesn't. They're irrelevant. They don't matter. It's one of the. It's ensemble cast can be great. But that's not what's happening in House. In House, it's all about Hugh Laurie all the time. But look at House. He is an incredibly flawed human being. He is arrogant. He's a curmudgeon. He's insufferable. He has drug problems because of his pain. He hustles prostitutes constantly. This guy is just a laundry list of personal issues. But he's brilliant. He earns it, and we love House, right? Whereas Rey, she's good at everything all the time. She has no flaws, not even a hint of one. There's nothing wrong with her. She's perfect in every single solitary way. And she's boring. And this is the thing I don't understand why these feminist movie makers don't get. You go ahead and make your girl power movie, but make her relatable. Give her some issues that she's not perfect. She's has drug problems or whatever it is.
Chester, in their head, they think that's what they think of themselves.
That's right.
Yeah, but if you want to, let's be completely capitalistic and greedy and evil here for a second. We want to make
no. You're talking logic. We're talking women. That is the antithesis of fucking logic.
Well, fine. Sometimes.
No, dude. If you didn't watch She-Hulk,
I didn't.
God bless you for didn't.
Yeah, I didn't.
There was at least 3 scenes where it starts off with Jennifer waking up and the first thing she's doing is drinking. It's fucking 9 a.m.
Yeah, they said
she's drinking.
Mom.
Yeah. That's a hero for them. That's what heroic looks like to these women.
It's weird. So she does have some flaws, but they're not portrayed as flaws. I see what you mean.
No.
Okay.
Correct.
But you know what I mean.
No. Also, she fucked the guy because he gave her French fries. That also was not seen as a flaw. Where normal girl said, "Now that's hoe behavior."
You telling me these days I can get laid just by giving French fries? God damn it!
If you was dealing with a white woman in L.A., apparently yes. All you needed was
French fries. I'll tell you that.
I mean, according to them, all you had to do was hit up one In-N-Out and talk to some white chicks, and you were in.
Well, shit. All right then. But it is a problem. If they actually created good characters that had flaws that the classic hero's journey, right? If they had done these things in any of these movies, the movies would have been better. Like there are woke movies for the history of cinema that are great, right? And we love them. So it does. Your political message is far less important than the story itself, right?
Right.
But whatever. Leslie, baby. This is not a good look. All right. Now, ooh.
She doesn't know anything about good looks. Look at it.
Well, but I know that this is a deal for you, but I don't really care what she looks like, dude. I really don't. I don't care if
No,
she's
no, no,
pretty
no,
or
no, no.
ugly, black or white. It doesn't
Yes,
mean
I
anything to
do.
me.
In entertainment, I have two rules. You either be really good at what you do, or you be pretty. She's neither one.
I see. But a lot of comedians are ugly people. They kind of use that
Yes,
as marketing.
and they're usually great. That's why. I mean,
Chester, I'm gonna tell you the truth. There's been like 3 female comedians, and the rest have been just trying.
Well,
Like
Carol
3.
Burnett and
Yeah,
Vicki Lawrence was her name. Those two ladies were hilarious.
they were pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'd give you Carol Burnett, Roseanne, and
Yeah, no, Reds,
Lucy,
she could be funny. Yeah. And who?
Lucy Seal Ball. That's it.
I never cared for Lucy, but I understand the appeal. Yeah, okay.
Oh, I love them. Literally. I grew up crazy because I'm not anywhere near old enough to have been watching Lucy, but I grew up watching Lucy. My mom would always be watching that or old cowboy shows,
Yeah,
and
but
I still love it.
no, I
Still to
understand
this
that.
day, watch them.
But
I love Lucy.
and the thing is, you go look at a young Lucille Ball. Damn, dude,
She was a
Yeah.
smoke show.
smoking. Yeah, real,
and
real,
they,
real
and they
good.
showed how talented she was because she didn't have to be a comedian.
And she was smart enough to marry Desi, who was the brains of that whole operation, and the only reason any film still exists
Oh,
from
he
back
created
then.
his own
Because
film company, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
they switched
Desi
the film
Arnaz was,
company over.
and not a white dude. Go figure.
Crazy, I know.
Yeah, I thought
Right?
we were all
Named
racist
Desi.
forever and ever.
Yeah, named Desi of all things, and is one of the most popular and beloved characters in television history.
Right.
By the
right.
way,
Anyway, new story.
Lex Luthor rumored to be running for president in James Gunn's Superman Legacy. I like how he is forever Lex Luthor now. I like that.
This guy, yeah. People liked him.
Michael
as Lex,
Rosenbaum.
Yeah.
Can we have Lex Luthor just really run for president at this point? I mean, it would be an improvement from what we have.
He did. His name was Donald J. Trump.
No. If Don's gonna go Lex Luthor, he's got to shave the hair.
Oh, fair.
You got to commit to the bit.
I would love that. Give me Bald Don. Bald Don coming in hot.
The Don.
Give me that. He just calls himself Don from now on. He doesn't even go by Trump. He's just Don.
I'm the Don. I'm here to save America. We're gonna make it better, whether you like it or not. But here's the thing with Lex Luthor and President, and this is the way that James Gunn is going. We're getting information now. Things are starting to roll because we've been kind of wondering for a while. We still haven't seen any Gunn thing or Zaslav back thing yet. We haven't seen it yet. We're waiting. We're still getting through the old hat stuff, which is just bombing left and right. But there are 3 separate times that Lex is president in DC Comics. Other more nerdy people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Red Son, he was president in that, but that's an Elseworld story. There was also another Justice League story, which once again was I think it was time travel one, and he was president. But those are Elseworld. There's only one where he's really president, and it's the most in-depth one. And the series ran for a while, and in the end, Batman and Superman came together to take him out of power, right? But here's a couple of things about that whole series, that run, that story that they told, DC Comics told. One, strangely enough, Lex was actually a very good president.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
2, in many ways, the Batman and Superman kind of seemed like the bad guy in it, even though Lex was doing some nasty shit to him, which of course he was. But 3, it's one of my least favorite DC runs ever.
Well, it's also kind of like, I don't know. It's not. He doesn't need it, right? Lex doesn't need to be president. You have to come up with convoluted reasons why he even want that. Because the Lex Luthor I love would see that as a downgrade.
Yeah.
Like that would be beneath him.
Yeah. It's too limiting. No. He needs to save humanity from these damn aliens.
Yeah, these aliens are everywhere, and he is the best man on Earth, and he doesn't need this ridiculous
it's a
politic.
It ties his hands. Yeah. But I so this is legitimate. DC Comics storylines is all I'm saying. I just wasn't a big fan of it. Some people liked it though. You shout out in the chat if you like Lex Luthor President run. I'm not talking about the Elseworld. I'm talking about the mainline one. I
Yeah.
want him to run again, Etrigan. Against, I think is what Ben means, against Etrigan. Yeah, Etrigan for president, sure, why not? That would solve a lot of problems. They definitely talk about people thinking about Roman things. Oof,
Problems would get solved.
they would
We had
get
extra
solved.
gas. It
But
would.
I don't know what to say about this. Once again, I'm holding my breath. I'm assuming everybody here is still under the auspices that Zaslav has sent in to make Warner Brothers sellable. I mean, we're still kind of thinking that's the main plan here. At least I think so. So which they have to do which is weird. Disney's taken a different angle, obliterate the company and make it cheap to sell, which is another path to take. Unity seemed to have done that. But I just don't know if this is the one I go for. Like I said, I really didn't care for. I didn't care for that run. I mean, I don't mind Lex Luthor as the bad guy. That's fine. There's a lot of good storylines with Lex Luthor as the bad guy, but I don't know.
I'm hoping what I'm hoping James is going to do, and I don't have much faith in him, but what I'm hoping he does is Lex is what Lex should be. He's not the bad guy necessarily. He's just there and causing trouble. And Superman constantly has to put these fires out. Like we don't need to do Lex as the main big bad again in a Superman movie. It's played out. There's so many cool things you could do that don't involve that. Whereas
Yeah.
Lex needs to be a presence. He needs to be there. He needs to be doing mischief, but
Yeah,
he doesn't need to be the problem.
Right,
You know?
but and why can't I get Brainiac? They've never given me Brainiac. They brought in frickin' Richard Pryor, and that was supposed to be Brainiac, and they absolutely copped out on it. I'm like, give me frickin' Brainiac, dude. Give me Brainiac. I mean, what the hell, right? We've seen Lex Luthor done many, many, many times, both in live action. I'm not talking about animation, but in live action, TV and movies, we keep getting Lex. It's just like Batman has always got to have the Joker, I guess, even though his rogues gallery is big, right? I don't know, dude. I just didn't care for this run at all. And I do like this guy. I watched Smallville, and I think he did a good job. But he's nowhere near buff enough to be Lex Luthor, though.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's the other problem too, is we never get Lex. We
No.
get parts of Lex, but we never get Lex. And I want fucking Lex. I want
He's
the
an
alpha
Ubermensch.
male.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want him. The man, he's supremely narcissistic and he's a psychopath. He's not doing this for any like personal enjoyment. He's doing it because he genuinely thinks he's correct.
Yeah.
And I want
So you want heel Kurt Angle as Lex Luthor.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That would be great.
That'd be
That'd
great.
be great.
That would
You know
be
who would
perfect,
actually make
Shave
really
up his
good,
head. Yeah.
good Lex if they had a Superman who had the physical stature to rival him is the guy who plays Reacher. Because he's got the size. Right?
Yeah,
Lex
shave his head
isn't
up, put him in the
small guy.
armor. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I love it.
We never do get Lex. He's always it's always about his intellect, and for some reason they believe intellect and brawn can't go together, which is weird.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous.
Which is why they can't do good Hulk movies.
Yes.
Yeah,
which
that's true.
Ridiculous because Lex's whole thing is he's trying to be, like you said, the Ubermensch. He's very Nietzschean. He's trying to combine the two realms of man, like the ancients of old, right? Plato and Socrates and these people were physical specimens. Because they believed that it was important to have a strong body and a strong mind together, not one or the other. They didn't separate them. Julius Caesar, for instance, was another one. Obviously, he was a warrior and a warlord. He was also very intellectual, very intelligent man.
Sure.
These sorts of people are what have driven the world forward forever. The idea of the warrior poet or the warrior philosopher or whatever, that's a good thing. That's what you want. Yeah. You don't want just freaking barbarians out here Hulk smashing everything.
Right. They only let Asians do that. Only Asians allowed to be the warrior poet. For some reason, I don't know why. But yeah, no, I 100% agree. We need if you're going to do it, give me a proper Lex Luthor. I mean, because what is his conceit? His conceit is very, very. He is all the things Thundero said he is, but his main conceit is that these aliens, these extra dimensional beings like Etrigan, that's a little more convoluted, but these are a danger to humanity, and he wants to protect humanity from that. His conceit
Sure.
is actually not the most evil of thoughts. It's not
Correct.
like, many of them who are just want to get rich or just like murdering, right? It's
Yeah.
not what Lex Luthor is. So
Yeah, he's not a what's a good way? You could almost consider him a lawful evil. He's evil.
yeah, no, he is lawful evil. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
But he's not chaos. He
No.
doesn't he wants complete and total totalitarian control because he genuinely believes he is better than everybody else. 100%
And therefore
megalomaniac.
he's right. And
And
he's
therefore
what's
he's
best
right.
for humanity. So him
Yeah.
running for president and stuff, I guess you can make sense in that thinking. But I'm just saying, I read this run. I read all three of those I mentioned, and I just didn't enjoy it. I much preferred other things, like the Court of Owls with Batman was a much better read. What was that thing they did with Superman? Was it All American or
All-Star Superman?
All Star Superman? That was fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was good.
That's what I thought maybe we were going to get. He was going to do some kind of play on that, but I don't think so anymore.
Yeah, and they took the Red Sun thing and threw it away. It seems in the Flash movie.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, they threw it away with that girl, just a throwaway thing, which is unfortunate. That's a nice little Elseworld story. But is Flash out yet? I think
Yeah,
it
it's
came
out.
out and bombed, and it just disappeared, right?
Yeah, it bombed horrendously.
Wow, Jesus. Yeah, but I mean, speaking of that, keeping that in mind, this right here is a very connecting to it. Look at this right here, dude.
After Vanity Fair claimed the Marvels clocked in with a $130 million budget, Forbes now shares the movie's budget is an enormous $274 million. What in God's name did they spend that money on?
I know, dude. Dude, but the thing is, this movie is dead already. Is this out yet?
No, it's supposed to be. If they don't push it back again, which would be the 5th time it's been pushed back, it would be coming out in November. This movie has been delayed 4 times, I believe, reshot 4 times.
Wow.
Oh, also, given to a woman who only directed one other movie on her resume, and it was a bomb. So yeah, you could just see where this is a recipe for fucking success.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate what's happened with the Captain Marvel character, because she could have been really cool, dude. I mean, I just don't understand why they didn't embrace it, because she is a strong female character, and the whole thing with Sword and she working with Marvel.
They wanted
the Kree.
a.
But it's a love story. It's a really good love story, dude.
Yeah, but they wanted to make her something she's not. They want to put her on the same level that Spider-Man, X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and the Avengers used to be at.
Yeah, I get you.
And thanks to Marvel's fuckery, none of them are currently at that level.
No,
but,
I understand.
But this is my wanted.
Point. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm saying they have been forcing this character for 11 years now. It's been 11 years since that first Kelly Sue DeConnick run, where they completely changed her character.
Well, for how many times they've rebooted that since then?
9.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
If I'm not mistaken, it's 9.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
So it's been rebooted 9 times. It's been a failure at every level. Everything related to it has been a failure. They're just not going to learn until and here's the thing, they're going to lose money on this because that thing's almost the budget's almost $300 million. If Forbes is accurate, that's almost $300 million. That's not even including the marketing and shit that they got to do for this fucking thing.
$500 million, yeah, easily.
And I know everybody thought, the first one made $1 billion. Yeah, we also know that they fudged the numbers.
They did, its placement was very beneficial.
And they finally admitted was it Variety or Vulture, finally put out an article this week, finally admitting what those evil YouTubers said 5 years ago. Oh, yeah, Rotten Tomatoes. We changed everything about Rotten Tomatoes for this.
Yeah, we know.
For this movie, we're like, yeah, we're not all collectively doing the razor fist fuck you. We was right, but we should.
Right. Well, he does the chair spin, and he's quite adept at it.
Yeah. No, the fact is, we already knew that. We knew that this was going to fail. Marvel at some point realized this was going to fail because she was supposed to be the face of Phase 4, and you didn't see her anywhere in Phase 4.
Well, that's because of her stupid, dumb mouth and her attitude. If she'd just been nice and happy to be working and polite and friendly to everyone around her, she would be fine.
I think even with that movie, I think behind closed doors they knew that movie, like, oh yeah, fans just didn't fall all over themselves to see this movie.
No, that they certainly, this movie is in big trouble. We know that. But here's my point about what they could have done with it. See, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, is B tier, without question. But so is Iron Man, right? And bringing in
C tier.
Well, okay. Well, it depends on the era. I'm a bit older than you, but whatever. You put her in C tier if you like. But I'm saying Iron Man has never been A tier, right? I enjoy the Iron Man comics, but it's never hit like the other ones. It's always been that kind of B tier or so. But bringing in Robert Downey Jr. and making him flawed and endearing brought back the Iron Man character to a level it's never been. Right? They could have done something very similar with Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel here. They could have done it very, very similarly by telling that love story that's built into her origin, and having her, be a hero. You could have had a great story, and they could have made her the second Iron Man as far as taking a lower level character and making it beloved, like they did with Iron Man. And it's a huge missed opportunity, dude.
I also will argue that Iron Man has always been far more marketable than she is. I know he's never he was never A tier, but I also push back against the argument because, like, when I was a kid, you had the cartoon. He was in a bunch of Marvel video games at that time, which was for a lot of kids that was a big fucking deal. So you had that. His toys always sell well. Yeah, they don't sell as well as Spider-Man, but nobody sells as well as Spider-Man.
Or all of the X-Men.
Yeah, well, again, at the time, those two was on. People forget at that era they was on such a hot streak with those two. They was fucking running reprints at the same time they was running current comics, and their reprints was outselling a lot of new shit.
I'm just saying they missed an opportunity. They was just, all I'm saying, dude.
Yeah, and yeah, they could have done something with Carol Danvers if they had talent. They won't go out and get talent.
Yeah, well,
because they're more interested as it said, the message.
That's true. No, she's a big mouth, and so many of these young Hollywood starlets are big mouths. They need to shut them up with their NDAs and stuff. But I mean, beyond her intolerableness, because it's clear looking at all the actors around her, they can't stand her. Right, so she's an issue. I get it.
She's a problem, but also we said it before, and Kevin Feige should not get a pass for this under any circumstances. The number one reason Phase 4 failed is because they skipped to all the shit we said was going to fail. All the shit that people did not like in the comics, they skipped right to it. They put these at the front of the line. Just remember, we have an MCU where Tony Stark and Reed Richards never interact, but you have Ironheart. We have a fucking MCU where there's no sign of the X-Men, but we now have two vehicles for Kamala Khan. A character that nobody cares for. A character that cost Square Enix almost $100 million.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, but they really should have.
And a game that bombs so badly that they're delisting it.
Yeah, no, that's true. It
Just
did
2 years
bomb.
after it came out.
It was really, really bad, and it was super woke too. But the thing is, if they had, with Ronan the Accuser in the Guardians of the
Yeah.
Galaxy movie, if they had just defeated and not killed him, and he wanted revenge, and he found he couldn't get to Peter Quill, so he decides to go after his planet, right?
Yeah.
And you did the Kree invasion, and therefore you bring in Marvel, which if you change his name for the movie, I wouldn't be so upset about it. But and then you did the whole Carol Danvers thing with it. Oh, dude, you could have created a wonderful character.
Yeah.
Yeah, because her story is endearing. But to be fair, after that initial thing with her, Marvel's never really known what to do with her. They kind of do a lot the same thing with her for over the years as they do with a lot of their B and C tier female characters. They just slut them up. I mean,
Yeah.
they do that a lot. I mean, She-Hulk has been slutted out, whored out so many damn times, dude. I mean, the
Yeah.
the the writers just can't seem to know what to do with the lower tier ladies. And like
Well,
they didn't slut out frickin' Aurora, right? Storm.
well,
They made her a queen. That's probably the proper
yeah, but
way.
she was a trophy wife. I hate it. I still fucking hate that marriage.
But you know what I mean. They do
Yeah.
whore out their B and C tier
Yeah.
ladies a lot. They just don't seem to know what to do with them.
Yeah, because unfortunately, thanks to activist groups, what can you do with them? You can't have but so many issues where they're in knockdown, drag out fights, right?
Yeah.
You could right. We've seen in the comics a fight
Thanks,
between
Jimmy.
the Punisher and Wolverine, where fucking Punisher shoots Wolverine in the face at point blank range with a shotgun.
Oh yeah.
Think that's gonna happen with any female character?
It'd
No.
be cool. Yeah, but I mean,
It,
particularly
it, it
hero
would be
character wise.
it would be a holy shit moment, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean,
But it's not gonna
it would be
happen.
cool for the character though, right? I mean, with Carol
Yeah.
Danvers, particularly Miss Marvel. I mean, they slutted her up hardcore, dude.
Yeah.
Hardcore. They slutted her up, and it's real unfortunate because, like I said, the origin of the story can be made into such a wonderful love story. Jiminy is
Well,
chastising us for living. How dare we exist?
that's it. Yeah.
They could have gone with Novacore as Joel, as you're right. They could have done that. But there's a lot of things they could have done. But this right here is another disaster walking.
Yeah.
And we've seen so many of them. So many of them. Like, for instance, Blue Beetle came out, right?
And nobody cared.
Nobody cared. Flash came out, bomb, right? Aquaman, they already know it's going to bomb hard. I mean, there's just we've talked about how many billions of dollars have been burned by these AAA studios, just throwing money away for no good reason because
Yep.
this character could be cool. The Kamala Khan could be cool. What's the Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel? What are they calling her? Pulsar, probably. She
I
could
think
be
they're
cool.
using the Photon name here.
A Photon, okay, all right. But whatever, she could be cool. There's a lot of stuff they've done that could be cool. She-Hulk could
They've
have been
already
super
ruined
cool,
her
dude.
so bad. They've already ruined Monica Rambeau twice, and at this point, it's like, and the thing is, I like who they picked as the actress. When I look at her, I'm like,
She looks
yeah,
good.
that's Monica
Yeah,
Rambeau.
yeah.
But they've already fucked her up so bad. It's like, yeah, now I don't even want to see it.
Although to be fair, that actress does look insufferable. She does look insufferable.
I haven't seen her say any or do anything like out of the way. But there's only two things I know that she's done. So
Well, if I
for the most part,
accidentally drop something on the floor and act like, "Oh, can you help me?" and she picked it over and bent, I'm sure I'm going to see a BLM tramp stamp. I'm pretty sure.
probably I wouldn't be shocked. Women flock to that shit more than men.
Wow. See, here's the thing. Jiminy said he finally did go see Blue Beetle a few nights ago. It was garbage, way worse than The Flash. And that's a shame
Wow.
because Blue Beetle could have been good fun. There's no reason that shouldn't have been a fun movie. He said he was shocked how
Well,
terrible it was. That's really
it's
sad, dude, because Blue Beetle's a fun little character.
it's because these people don't. Well, for one, they keep picking people based on fucking checklists. They got it. That it's never gonna get better until that shit stops. The diversity checklist has to stop. I don't care. Oh, these marginalized voices don't get opportunities. Maybe it's because they suck.
Yeah,
You
but
know, it's like that episode of Fresh Prince with the clown. He's like, dude, it's not that nobody will give you a chance. It's because you suck. It's not
yeah,
because you're black.
sure.
It's because you suck.
Well,
These guys did not get opportunities before, not because they was Latino, not because they were black women. It's because they sucked. If you was great, if there was a black woman who did like a low budget film, right? And it was successful like Friday was, right?
Mhm.
Friday was a fucking movie that became a huge hit with a $50,000 budget.
Yeah,
It
sure.
became a huge hit. If you directed a movie that took off like that, you would get opportunities. That's what happened with Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler, nobody knew who that guy was 10 years ago. Then he did a movie that everybody liked, and now people was throwing opportunities at him. Nia DaCosta, the guy who fucking directed Blue Beetle, they didn't fucking deserve it, and everybody knows they didn't deserve it.
Yeah. And it's too bad because they have the wokeness, or at least the minority thing built into that character.
Yeah,
I mean, the current Blue Beetle is Latino,
yeah,
and I love the character
but
because my kids. I didn't read the comics much, but my kids watched it on the Young Justice or whatever it was. It was a good little character, dude. I liked it.
but here's the thing. It's too much. It's too much of a Latino that happens to be a superhero rather than a superhero who happens to be Latino.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I,
In the Young Justice, he wasn't Latino. He was just
yeah, he
I
was
think it was
Jaime. He
Reyes,
was
Jaime Reyes, I think was his name.
yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't Latino. It wasn't like Yo Cholo. It was none of that. Yeah, it was none of that. BB was nothing. Blue Beetle was nothing but bad stereotypes. Yes, yeah, that's unfortunate. From the beginning to end, his family's poor and helpless because they're Hispanic, of course. Even though there's a lot of successful Hispanics in America, a
No
lot.
shit.
There's villains. The villains are evil white women, of course, who spent her life victimizing Hispanics. Of course, she has. Yeah, and that's the thing because he's not his character is not Hispanic. He's just Jaime Reyes who found an alien device. I mean, that's kind of the character, and that's unfortunate and they did that because it's unnecessary.
Of, of, of course, the mom is yeah. All of them.
Yeah, and she murders, laughing as she's murdering bad guys. Yeah, no, I know. It's unfortunate. It's a shame. We see wasted opportunity left and right, and this is a huge amount of money. But like I said, Disney has burned billions, dude, billions, and I don't know what's going to happen in the long run. We're just kind of playing
I,
cat's
I
up.
I'm gonna stick with my original prediction. They're gonna have to piecemeal it out.
And they probably will. And today, this is what I want to get to in my main conversation today, and it's one that Thundero should enjoy.
I think
Thundero.
I don't think he's here. I'll read it. Gareth Edwards revealed the creator is about exploring this fear of the other person, people who are different from ourselves. Okay.
All right. Well, too bad Thundero's not
There's ways
here.
you can look at that.
Well, no, I want to talk about the general concept of this idea. This is nothing new. It's been around forever.
Yeah.
And this is a movie here that Thundero is very excited about. He wants to see. I've seen the trailers, and I didn't need this headline to tell me that's what they're doing because it's quite clear, which means Gareth Edwards is doing a good job because I could tell. But here's the thing: this concept of
It's not new.
is not new, but stories and movies and stuff, comic books, even trying to discuss the difficulty that humans have with the other and trying to find some middle peaceful ground. It's not a wrong or a wrong-headed or bad endeavor. It's not. But humans are tribalistic. It's just what we are. And this creator, Gareth Edwards, understands that. If you read this article, he's not some obtuse, silly feminist, this guy. He might well be, but if you read the article, he's very reasonable in his thinking, right? He
Yeah.
understands that. And tribalism is a major issue, and it doesn't have anything to do with color at all. That's why I say racism isn't really a thing. It's culturalism, because I've had plenty of people when I lived in the States who were not the same color as me that I got along with just fine. And you know why? Because we were American. Our culture was the
Yeah.
same. And it didn't matter what color they were. And particularly being an American, we are a melting pot. So, one of the things I've seen going on in America right now that is disturbing is that these various groups that when I were young just were all just Americans now are segregating themselves intentionally by choice, right? And making themselves separate groups. This is not going to help because tribalism is an eternal thing with humanity. It's simply a way that, because you have to keep in mind that humans are basically scared little monkeys sitting in the dark throwing their shit at the void. That's what we
Yeah.
are. That's the reality. That's the truth, whether you like it or not. And if we can find anything to cling on to, therefore our tribe, we do so. So it doesn't have anything to do with color. And because you can attest this, just most of you are American. You grew up with all kind of colors around you, and you had friends of all colors, and even of different cultural backgrounds their family might have. But because you're all American, you all got along just fine, right? It didn't
Yeah.
matter because your tribe was the same, right? And now other countries have less understanding of this because they're homogenous. They're a singular thing. They're not mixed like we are. But it doesn't have anything to do with race. Now, so the idea of trying to tell a story, looking at the other and saying that we need to try to find a way to stop this tribalism, which I think is impossible, is not a bad thing. And we've seen many, 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 many stories do this. This is not a new idea. However, I do think him choosing AI as being the other is troublesome, because here's the thing. You can't express it and you cannot truly identify with it because AI, computers, as even as advanced as this movie is putting forward, are something that man created. Therefore,
But
it is something man can shut off. And the argument goes back to this. Does God have to care about your worries? No. God can end you at any moment because you are simply a creation of His. Whether you like it or not, that's the reality of the concept of God. And when you come to AI, in essence, we are the gods of it. So it's never going to resonate. Whereas if you had, like Indian versus cowboy or, whatever, it's not going to
I would
resonate
say
properly.
yes and no because even that concept has been done numerous times.
Oh yeah, many times.
Like
Every time. That seems to be the
like
default when we have AI in a movie.
no, not even the movie. I was just thinking. There's two episodes of the Twilight Zone that immediately came to my mind. Just talking about this. I don't know the titles off the bat, but I know the episodes. It's the first one that came to mind was it was this guy. He was on a prison colony planet away from Earth, and he was there by himself until his sentence was over. And at some point during the sentence, they bring him a robotic female, and he rejects it at first until he sees the female actually cry and realize, even though it is artificial, it thinks like us, it emotes like us, and he got so attached to it that when they came back to finally get him, they hadn't set up the ship to take but so much weight, so they had to leave her behind. And when he tried to resist that notion, the people that came to get him basically blew her up, so he would finally just leave.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
And
I get it.
the
But yeah, I get the humanity of the machine
yeah,
thing. I do. But in the end, it's still a created thing of humanity. It's
yeah,
programmed. It just won't resonate with everybody. I get your point, though.
oh yeah,
But take another angle at it like this. There was a movie sometime back. I think it might have been British. It wasn't a bad little movie. And there's basically a zombie plague movie. And
yeah,
but there were like these plants with spores that were causing the
yeah,
the mutation in humanity to these zombie-like things. And there's this guy. The whole movie, he's desperately trying to save this little zombie girl. right? He's trying to save her, right? And in the end, she ends up just lighting the spore trees on fire, therefore moving the spores around, and it's going to kill any humanity left. And even though this guy's the whole movie he has spent trying to desperately save this girl, she kneels down to him and says, "Your time is over. It's our time now." And I have a feeling this movie's going to do something similar. And that is such a bullshit argument. That is a bullshit argument because these lefties will turn around and do the same thing when you're talking about aboriginals. Like I know you guys have been inundated with the Maui fire news because they want you talking about anything other than what's actually going on in the government. But have you noticed with the Maui news how many of these Hawaiians are coming up talking about how their people and their religion are connected to nature and they're much more connected than you stupid white people? You've seen those things on the news, I'm sure, right?
Actually, no.
I've seen a bunch. And but the thing with that is, one, it's stupid. Every culture on this planet has been there at one point or another, and we took our medicines and we modernized them. So we all come from that. So shut up. You're just behind the rest of us. One, and secondly, it's this concept that we are better than you because of X, right? And we're always trying to put those things in place. But the simple reality is, it doesn't matter how connected you are to your island spirits, because everyone's in the same freaking boat, dude. Right? And
Yep.
and it's the same thing with this idea of, well, it's you must die because it's time for this thing. That is absolute bullshit. And the feminists, or the progressives, I should say, will sit there and fight for those Maui natives, right? Or the whatever native in the world, saying that they have a right to survive. And they'll go on and on and on and on, pass legislation, throw money at it left and right. But if you throw a concept like this, where humanity is going to get completely wiped out because it's just time, they're completely okay with that, right? It's
Yep.
such a contradiction of thought. But it really irritates the hell out of me when
Well,
you hear
that's
these
because these
natives.
people always think they're going to be on the positive end of it. They're not going to think they're going to be the ones. You know, they're not going to think they're the ones going to be on the cookbook. To serve man.
Right, right. Yeah. And there was a really good anthology one shot there with Jason. Who's the guy that did Bruce Lee's story? Jason something. Can't remember his name. He looks like a Hawaiian Nisei, maybe. Really good shape. He played Bruce Lee in a movie. Well, anyway, he's in one of those I forget which one it was, one of those anthology horror shows, and
Mhm.
they did a take on How to Cook Man, right? In that
Yeah.
episode, it was like little 30-minute, 40-minute little anthology story, and I was actually a pretty good take on it. I like that one. What was his name? Jason something. Huh. Someone help me out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the guy that played the Bruce Lee in the Bruce Lee story. He's a Hawaiian guy. He looks predominantly Asian, I guess. Really good shape. Seems like a nice fellow. But
Can't
anyway,
think of it.
I don't
He
know.
starts
But
writing them.
this argument here that Gareth Edwards is making about trying to fix the tribalism of man, do you think it's possible?
No, no. That's what we are. We are
Scott Lee, thank you so
again.
much, Jimmy.
I will keep saying this again. We are animals. We are
Yes,
animals with a language.
we
That's
are.
it. We are not that much different from how deer behave. We're not much different from how wolves behave. We're fucking animals. There's nothing wrong with that.
We're even more
It's
dangerous than
it.
that. Yeah.
It is our self interest and arrogance that makes it a problem.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I mean, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, because I agree with you 100%. No, if you go look at our technology, you will understand very clearly we are nowhere near as
Mhm.
modern as you think we are, because
No.
all our technology has been around for centuries. It's just been slightly modernized. And also understand that everything, including electricity, is still a theory. We don't even know how electricity works, and our entire world is bit. We're communicating with it, and we don't even know how it works, right? So we're not as advanced as we think we are. That is a point. But more importantly, with this whole tribalism issue that he's bringing up, and like I said, it's a good article. This guy's not being a dick at all. This Gareth Edwards, he's making a fair point, and many people have made stories and movies like this before. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not complaining about this guy. But what I'm saying is maybe because we've been banging at this door for a long time. You're
Yep.
not going to fix it. Maybe we should embrace the other side of it. Maybe we should give a run at it because if we understand that, yeah, well, people are culturally based and therefore let's not mix the cultures. Let's understand that and just deliberately keep the culture separate. And
Yeah.
if they have some little area, a little party or a little city they're interacting with, fine. Let it play out as it does. But maybe we should try the opposite because we've been banging at this for a long time, dude, and it's nothing coming of it. And it
Yeah.
can't. It's just how humans work. It's our psychology, dude. We latch on to our tribe, whatever that may be, and everything that's not our tribe is the enemy ultimately because it's how we gather our identity. Like when I heard these ladies some years back and they started complaining about being objectified, it made me laugh because it's like you do realize everything humans do is objectifying things. It's how our
Yes.
brain works. Is it poisonous? Is it safe? Is it fun? Everything we do is objectified because it's how our brain rationalizes things. And tribalism is exactly the same situation. So I'm just saying that maybe it would be smart to give a shot at maybe doing the opposite. Let the culture stay separate and don't bitch about it. Let's see what happens because in places that is happening, like say here in Japan, they're not perfect. They certainly have their problems, but I'm telling you, Japanese do society better than pretty much any culture I've ever seen. And the one thing about Japan is they don't have these conversations because they don't exist. 99% of Japan is Japanese.
Yeah. Well, that's why.
Yeah. Yeah. And they don't play that game. They don't mess around with it. But in the West, they're these days, particularly now, they're really pushing for this whole diversity thing, and it's not gonna work out the way you think. It's not. So because we can see cultures throughout history that were incredibly diverse. Like for instance, ancient Egypt. Let's talk about the Greek era, right? Therefore, Egypt,
Mhm.
right? Um, they talk about in their annals of the 42 races of Egypt. I mean, you can't get much more diverse than this, right? So, but they all got along really well, particularly before the Hyksos, and that would be pre-Greek time. But they all get along pretty well because they were Egyptian. It didn't matter that your family's from Persia or your Arabia or India or you're sub-Saharan African or you're European. It didn't matter, right? Because they were all Egyptian, and that was their culture. That was their tribalism, was Egyptian. Similar with Rome, and so a lot of these people that are sitting there saying we need diversity, dude, we've had it before. Diversity is not the point. What you need is a banner to fly under. And if you keep bringing people in from Africa, the Middle East, Pakistan, Southeast
Well,
Asia, and you throw them into your culture, that shit ain't gonna blend, dude.
that's we'll see. That's the thing. It's artificial. That's why one of the reasons it's not working. Two, the other part that's not working is you're telling them, oh, you can come over here, but you can keep your culture. But the whole point of you leaving is to do something different. That's the whole point. When you leave somewhere, it's because you're trying to do something different.
Or you're trying to take advantage of something, and that's what we're seeing happening right now. But I'm just
Even
saying that,
even even taking advantage, it's something different because you did because where you had nothing to take advantage of. You're still
fair.
trying to do something different.
It's fair. That's fair. But
Um,
this argument here that it's been made many, 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 many times, it's kind
yeah,
of old. It's an old
it
argument,
is
and
very old.
we already have the evidence. Gareth, sorry, like I said, this guy's not being an asshole at all. But we
No,
already know. We have the results. The test is done. We know exactly what the results are, and it's not good. You can't mix culture, right? Now, if you have a group of
No.
people like in America, or London, or well, London is currently a different story. But if you have a culture in America, for instance, that is people from all different walks of life, it doesn't matter because their culture is American, right? And like I
Yep.
said, it's really sad to see this intentional segregation going on because when I was a kid, these conversations never came up, dude. I had Italian friends and I had black friends and I had friends from all kinds of different walks of life, but we never actually thought about it. It never came up. I'm looking back on it now and thinking about it because at the time we never did because it's just my neighbor or my friend that I went to school with or something like that. It didn't matter because we're all Americans. We all speak the same language. We have the same, we relate to the same TV show comments and, all those kind of things. But this, what's going on right now, this deliberate segregation and this flooding of foreigners in, boy, that's going to go bad. It's going to go really, really bad. So. And we already fought that war, which is unfortunate. The Americans already fought that because the mix of peoples in America was forced, right? Originally. And
Yep.
we went through all that struggle, all that blood, all that hard time to get to the point where we all kind of getting along. And then you want to tear that down. It's like we finally got to some place where we all looked at each other as Americans. And now you bastards want to tear it apart. I mean, what the fuck, dude? That is centuries of bloodshed and hard work and discontent to get to that point, and you want to tear it down. Why? Because you think that with a vagina, you now can be called a male? I mean, is that
Yes.
really the ultimate logic? You just destroy centuries
There
of
is no
hard work. Anyway,
They're not using logic.
clearly not. And too bad Thundera left because this is a conversation he would have loved to have had. But nevertheless, this movie right here, like I said, it's an interesting article. You might want to go read it. This Gareth Edwards guy, I don't really know who he is, but I've heard the name, I think. He's doing the same thing we've seen done before. It's not a new conversation. But his movie is made to kind of look at that. Now, like I'm telling you, I have a feeling, looking at the trailer and listening to him talk, then in the end, all humans die in this movie. I kind of have a feeling that's what's going to happen, and a human's going to make it possible. Yeah, it's all time for us all to go. I have a
Time
feeling.
for humans to be gone. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a feeling that's what this movie's going to do. Too bad you missed this conversation. You would have liked it.
Uh-oh, what happened? Which
Oh,
one?
we're talking about the
This one?
creator, Gareth Edwards,
Yep.
and the conceit that, tribalism is real, and maybe we should stop trying to force it and just,
Hmm.
let ourselves be segregated and be at peace.
Yeah. That's I like the old canard, if you will. Let 1,000 nations bloom.
Sure.
Stop trying to force people who don't want to live together just because of your ideological qualms.
Yeah. No, I think
Simple
so.
as that.
I agree. Well, anyway, thank you all very much. That was a lot of fun today. We had some interesting conversations. Glad you guys came in and been part of it. I'm going to, I got some work I got to do before I go to work. But in 2 days, of course, I do have Joint Recorded, not Joint Recorded, the Bugbear's Basement, continue on Omni Hero. Come back for that if that's something that interests you. And of course, this week we are doing One Piece on Joint Recorded Ultimate Edition, so that should be fun and it's topical as well. So come back and see the amazing art that they do. But other than that, Grimlock, would you like to make a closing comment, sir?
Hey, enjoy your weekends, people. Fall is finally here, so we're out of swamp ass season. 2 more months till winter, I guess.
Well, that's what you
2.5
get for wearing
months.
underwear.
This guy.
This guy.
That's just what I need is the image of a bugbear walking around freeballing. That's what I need right there.
I'm a commando.
Well, I unfortunately am still in the midst of swamp ass season because for some reason I have yet to figure out why or come up with a plausible reason as to why between 7 p.m. and about midnight my house boils. and I don't know why.
I
have
know why,
absolutely no why.
but
Why?
YouTube wouldn't like the answer.
Uh-oh. But yeah, it gets real hot in here, so I'm still in the middle of it, unfortunately. And especially in my office here, where I have my computer, I have a big TV, I have a PlayStation. It's not none of that's on right now besides the computer, but just the computer alone heats this room up like a son of a bitch. So it's a little warm in here right now. So I'm unfortunately still in the middle of it. So right smack in the middle of it till about December-ish, when it gets cold, when it starts to get cold, that's when it goes
gets
away for me.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did switch over to liquid cooling from my computer, and the highest peak I've seen so far is 46 on the CPU.
That's
So
pretty good.
yeah, it's scary, but it works. Because I did
What's the
put a
liquid?
13900 K into this machine here, and those are hot. But that liquid
Yeah.
cooling does a good job.
It does the job, in fact. In fact, does the job.
It does. It just works.
As the famous Todd Howard once said, it just works.
It just works.
It does.
Just works.
Yeah, he doesn't have to explain how. It just trusts him.
Yeah.
It does.
It is a lot of people like to pick on Todd, but to be fair, he has put a lot
He
of
deserves it.
Yeah, but he's also created a lot of love and fun for people over the years.
Yeah.
But the problem with Todd is he just says dumb shit. I mean,
Yeah.
he clearly has good ideas and various things like that, but he's not the spokesman he thinks he is. I mean, honestly, he should find a professional.
I agree.
I mean, shit,
Like
with the
Keanu
money
Reeves.
they got, why don't you have frickin' Sir Anthony Hopkins do all your frickin' public speaking for you?
So I'm gonna quick little rant. Starfield, biggest problem I had with it, and the reason why I haven't bought it, and the reason why I'm probably gonna wait on it, is
Oh,
because
definitely.
all of the promotional trailers and all the promotional material is exactly wrong for what the game should be and what the game is, in fact.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that sense of exploration, that spirit of adventure. There's none of that. None of it. Like, I was talking in a different Discord server to somebody, and I was telling them this exact same thing, and I showed them the song "The Highwayman" by the Highwaymen, the country song. That's what this trailer should have used, and that's what the trailer should feel like. When you listen to that song, what it's talking about is that same spirit. And they don't even touch that. They don't even contemplate it. To them, it's nothing about. That's one of the things that makes Star Trek so great, is that spirit of what's out there. Let's go find out, that pioneering spirit, that exploring spirit. And that's what this game should have evoked. And what they did is they fell into the pretentiousness of the whole deal, similar to like Firefly did, and similar to how
Howard.
similar to how Enterprise did. They went with these pretentious songs instead of something that's grand and has, like, an aspirational, inspiring, like Star Trek: The Next Generation's theme. Right? It gets you going.
It should be super inspiring to Grimlock, because his people are clearly in charge of everything in the future.
Yeah.
So
Jesus Christ. Only because they put in HR departments. That's the only reason.
Yeah. But anyway. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Later.
Later.